and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
Boom, 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 boom. We have a Chaos Knight box. Not just a book, although we will be talking about the book. We have a whole box.
But don't worry, there is a book too.
Don't worry, there's a book in the box.
There's a book, it's got rules and everything.
Oh my goodness. So, Chaos Knights are that army that's unloved. Because Games Workshop is just like, here's a book for you to paint your normal knights black and red with. Yeah, just put a spike on it, no problem. They like barely had models. They had like one kit. It was like a Codex and one kit, and that's what the Chaos Knight army range was.
And wasn't it just an Imperial Knight with spiky bits on it?
No. They do have a real box now. The Rampager, Desecrator, it's like a dual kit. But don't worry, we got more. We got double the models. We've got a brand new book and brand new rules for the Chaos Knights. So, in case you have not noticed, today is the day that this Chaos Knight box goes on pre-order from GW. So you can always go to Games Workshop's website and order this right now. And we have to thank them. We have to thank them for sending us this box set early so we could make content.
Yes, John is so excited to make this night, and I cannot blame him.
I am.
Look at it. Look at it. Look at it.
Look at that. Look at the background.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, they can see it. It's this guy. He is big. He has tusks. He has tentacles. He has a Volkite cannon. Like, I'm opening the box.
What's it called? It's a Volkite...
it's like a Volkite, probably, I don't know. It's a Desecrator. I don't know what it's called.
Vuglair? No, that's the...
Yeah. So, like, I'm gonna talk about the models in here a little bit, because you know what? These things got me hyped.
A Volkite Combustor.
Volkite Combustor. That is, I do not want to be combusted by the Volkite.
You really don't, honestly.
Yeah. So, for those curious... This certainly appears to be a Knight, the Knight Desecrator kit with an upgrade sprue. So it looks like this right here. This is the Big Knight. This is like the Desecrator, the Rampager, like the Big Knight's 3 sprues. Yeah. And then on top of that, they have put a wonderful 4th sprue with which you can buy Menti Tentacles. And you can get some cool helmets. And it has all the birds on it. And you know what? Honestly, you know that I'm a sucker for every model with birds. I normally like them to be like eagles and aquillas and things. But I can get behind the Chaos Knight here with a tail and chaos birds.
It does look dope. Like, I'm looking at this splash art here. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at this, John. Look at that.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
That is going to pop on the table.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll have these models built, painted on the stream relatively soon. I'm, for one, very excited to get it on the table. We'll get to that, but we got more. We got these absolutely wonderful armigers.
There's War Dogs.
War Dogs, I know.
War Dogs, John, they're called War Dogs.
I know. So this kit makes 2 War Dogs. And as far as I can tell, it's 2 copies of the same sprue, which is good because there are 3 armiger variants you can make from each of these. So you can make 2 of any of the 3.
There's more actually than in Imperial Knights. There's like 6 different variants of War Dogs.
Yeah, I think that there's 5 or 6 now.
I think there's 6, and it's just you can mix and match weapons basically. But we'll get to that when we get to
it. They've got a ton of detail. These are really, really good looking. Each one comes with it looks like 4 head options. There's at least 4 head options.
Oh, so you can customize them? And
yeah. And because it's just the same sprue twice, that means that you have 8 different heads, then you've got 2 of each to choose between. Really, really cool things. I'm, again, very excited for these models. I'm glad that there are now unique Chaos Armigers, cough cough War Dogs, because gosh darn it, just putting spikes on loyal ones wasn't as much fun.
And
fun art piece. You know, there's always going to be a fun art piece.
You can put it up on your wall.
I actually might. I really like this one.
That is actually a really nice one. It's unfortunate it's a little bent.
It is a little bent. That might be my fault. It's been in there for a while, but we can straighten it out. Data cards, exactly what it says, and it appears that the transfer sheets in here are new. I compared these to some of the pictures I googled of old ones.
These do look new.
They do look new.
I don't, because those have the night houses.
Yep.
And I don't think that... Yeah, I don't really know what the Chaos Knight box has in it, to be honest with you. We got a thing of data cards.
Data cards, yeah. That's it. So, and then there's a codex, right?
And then there's a book, and there's it has rules to tell you how to play your models in it. And that's what we're here for today.
Yes, that is what the rest of this is. We are going to focus on the rules. This is, of course, a competitive 40k channel, so we're going to skip over the Crusader rules. We're going to skip over the lore, although I will say that there is some really cool lore in here. You know, I don't even know, like, does it count as spoilers? Because there is some lore in here that I had not found anywhere else. And I actually went back and reread some campaigns as like, hey, did they mention this yet? But you know what? I think I'm just going to spoil it. So there's a new Chaos Knight house.
Are you spoiling fluff?
I'm spoiling fluff right now.
What kind of channel? People come to our channel for competitive content.
I know, this is why I'm warning them. So it's that one. It's House Corvax. So this is a new Chaos Knight house that they made for this book that literally did not exist in the lore when we got this book. I was like reading through them like, oh, House Corvax. I've never heard of them. And I like tried to like look them up and they just don't exist. And I'm like, what? They just made them for this book. It's House Raven from the Loyal Knight book, which you can watch that video as well. House Raven's planet got seized and like just completely taken over. Like Be'lakor just like picked it up and was like, you're coming with me. Just drags it into the warp. All the knights on it are now House Corvax.
Huh.
So, surprise,
you know what? I've been shot by a House Raven Castellan enough times. I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, you're going to be shot by a spiky House Raven Castellan now. So spoilers are over. Sorry about that, everyone. It's too late. We're doing it. We're talking about the rules now.
All right, let's talk about what's in this book. There's a lot of rules in here, first off.
Yeah, this is a very complicated codex for the amount of data sheets in it.
Yeah, it has like 7 data sheets. It has more pages of rules than it has data sheets.
I think it has like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Which is great. That's how you make a codex like this like interesting. Is you give it like 5 data sheets and it's like, here's a million rules you can all staple together on those.
Last Chaos Knight book felt a little boring to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot more in this one, and we'll see for better or worse what that's looking like. But drop it on me.
All right. So there's a lot of different things that you can add on. They can be your knights can be iconoclast. They can be infernal. They come from different households. They can have different relics and warlord traits are fairly obvious. Favors of the Dark Gods is a very interesting table we're going to go over.
Yeah. That's like the points upgrades. And some of this has been previewed on the Warhammer community website. Favor of the Dark Gods is like the point upgrades. You pay points and it costs a certain amount depending on what knight it is. And then they gain benefits and all the good things.
And that's fairly complicated. And we'll get to that. There's also Harbingers of Dread. Which is, it's also super complicated.
Yeah, all of it really.
But let's start out with the detachment abilities in this book.
Yeah.
So it's the same as it was. If you have a super heavy detachment and you fill it out with knights, then you get your CP back. Otherwise, it wouldn't really make too much sense.
It has changed a little bit.
How has it changed, John?
Which is that if you go all armigers, the detachment only gives you 3 CP back instead of 6.
If it contains 6 or more war dogs and 1 Titanic, then plus 6 command points.
Yep. But if it includes no Titanic, then it's a very expensive detachment.
It sure is. Luckily, I think in this book you are going to want the bigger knights.
Yeah. You're going to want
knights
some.
Are where it's at.
Yeah. The baby knights are still really good. Big knights got better, I think, to match it.
So you can include 1 Dreadblade in the army.
Yep.
If it's a super heavy Ox detachment that contains 1 Dreadblade until the end of the battle, unit gains the Agent of Chaos, and only 1 Dreadblade can have.
And Agents of Chaos is gonna. It also has text about how if you take a Dreadblade, you don't mess up the rest of your army.
Yeah, so it's like Agents of the Imperium, but for Chaos.
Yeah. Nope. So if you take an Ox of Chaos Knight and you call it a Dreadblade, you're not gonna trip over like your Thousand Sons. They're not gonna lose their Kabbalistic points. Your Death Guard aren't gonna lose their Contagions.
Yeah, which will be very interesting to see how one knight will change some armies.
Yeah,
or if it even will.
If it will at all, yeah.
Yeah.
I think some of those armies actually might want a knight.
Yep. Every knight in a detachment, they have the same household. They get the household trait.
Obviously.
Not crazy. Yep. So now we get to the real fun part. Half of the households are iconoclasts and half the households are infernals.
Yep.
So iconoclasts all have, whenever it charges, was charged, or performs a heroic, till that fight is resolved, add 1 to the attack's characteristics of the model, and improve the AP by 1 of melee weapons.
Yes, really, really strong. That's basically unchanged, if I'm being honest. But that was a good rule before, so... Okay.
Yeah. And the demonic surge out of infernals is, in your command phase, you can each knight can use a surge. And if you do, you take 1 mortal wound and roll a d3 on the chart below. And if you don't want to roll it randomly, you take d3 mortal wounds and you choose. And the 3 are add 3 to the move characteristic. Every time an attack is made against you, an unmodified wound of 1, 2, or 3 fails, no matter what. And the final one is every time you fight with a weapon, you pick one weapon, and every time an attack is made with that weapon, add 1 to the attack's wound roll. And that can be melee or shooting. Probably shooting is where it's going to be the best. But you can pick melee. Because you can just choose to have it in melee if you want to, like, oh, this is the turn I'm going to step.
Yeah.
Step. Both of these are very similar to how they were before.
Yeah, the Demonic Surge one for the Iconoclast, I apologize, the Infernal household, changed a little bit. It used to be +1 toughness, and I think it used to include a +1 damage. So it used to be, I think, +1 strength, +1 damage, and +1 strength was cool because it was sometimes +1 wound, but not always. You lost the +1 damage, but now you always get the +1 wound.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a side grade for me for Demonic Surge.
Yeah.
And then Iconoclast stayed the same. Both of those were pretty good before. I think they're still pretty good. I like +3 to move. I think it used to be like +1 or +2.
I think it was either +2 or +3 before. I don't think it was +1.
Yeah, but +3 still, regardless of what it was before, it's pretty good now. I like +3 to move. I'm willing to take a mortal or so to do it. I always like Iconoclast because I just like punching people.
They punch super hard.
Yeah, +1 attack and AP adds up.
There's also a lot of sweet profiles in this book, so getting +1 attack can translate to more than 1 attack.
Same as the last book.
Yes.
One other thing we need to mention is Towering Foe, that all models that have this count as 5 models on an objective. Yep. Unless they're Titanic, and then they count as 10.
Yes.
So remember how Games Workshop gave you a cool rule, and they took it away because the book was coming, and everyone was like, yo, what the heck are we doing for the next month? And they were like, oh, sorry, we'll put that back in. It was coming. Also, War Dog class units receive objective secure. Yeah, so all your Armigers are OBSEC 5 models, all your Knights are 10 models, not OBSEC inherently.
Just ask Nids how powerful objective secured 5 models is for big units.
That's
for big.
That real good.
Very good. Very good. And Knights being 10 models is just obnoxious.
Yeah, you expected that to make the transition over. At least I did. It's still very reassuring to see that Games Workshop didn't just forget to put it in. Yep. That would have been terrible. All right.
So
what we got next?
Before we continue on, it does contain a little note here about dreaded abilities. We'll get to those in a bit.
Yep.
But they have a little, kind of like a skull little icon. It's like a very simplified skull, almost. It's a dreaded symbol, and it's next to a bunch of abilities, which make them dreaded abilities. They affect things in dread range, which at the start of the game is 12 inches, but can be modified. And through the book, you will find some things that affect dreaded abilities.
And for like all rules purposes, the dreaded abilities are basically auras, but they have that like sister kind of terminology or contagion terminology where they're not affected by normal aura modifying abilities.
Right. They don't want some weird rules interaction to spiral out of control.
Yeah, so if you increase your auras, it won't affect dread abilities. If you decrease your opponent's auras, it won't affect dread abilities. Dread abilities are just auras that don't change in range.
Multiple dreaded abilities do not stack. And they start at 12, and then they have wording in here that says they start of game they're 12 inches, which makes me believe that they might increase over the course of the game.
One would think that.
All right, so let's start with the
Dread Households.
The Dread Households.
All right, you want to take the first one?
I'll take the first one. House Herpetrax.
Yeah, that is a name.
That sure is.
House Herpetrax, the one with the little serpent.
Herpetrax. So they are an iconoclast, so they're better in combat, +1 attack, -1 AP. So their household bond is Dauntless. Add 2 to the wounds characteristic of War Dog class models. Add 4 to the wounds characteristic of Titanic class models.
That is not bad.
That is beefy. I mean, in the last book, or maybe the last Imperial Knights book, I forget, there was one that's like add 1 to Armigers and add like 2 to Titanic. That wasn't enough to make a difference. 2 and 4 could actually be a big deal.
Yeah, every model just having, like every big knight just being 4 extra wounds, kind of nice. And it doesn't change their degradation table at all.
Oh yeah, it doesn't, does it?
Which is like cool, because like the 4 wounds are on the best profile.
Yeah, that helps quite a lot. It's not like 2 wounds on the best profile, 1 wound on the medium, and 1 wound on the worst.
4 extra wounds to play with, no problem.
All right, their stratagem, Warping Presence, 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the end of the fight phase, like 1 House Herpetrax model from your army. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of that model. On a 2 through a 5, enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers d3. It's It's not terrible. It's not a lot of mortal wounds, but you have a huge base, and it is within 6 inches.
What is it? It's
end of the fight phase, which is like the best time for it.
If you could like consolidate up into the middle of an Eldar army, and you could get like 5 or 6 units in range, I would spend a CP on this.
Yeah, because it's 1 CP to get like 6 mortal wounds.
Yeah, if you can get a lot of things.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty solid.
Getting them out of separate units is not the best, and if you're anywhere near Dire Avengers, not the time, because you don't want to chip one out of there and let them shoot twice.
Yep.
But if you're in range of a sizable amount of your opponent's army with a big base, go for it. Warlord trait, bow to none. This warlord can ignore any or all modifiers to the characteristics profile, and their characteristics profile is already improved by 4 wounds or 2. Each time this warlord makes an attack, ignore any or all modifiers to hit, wound, and damage rolls. And each time this warlord advances or declares a charge, you can ignore any or all modifiers to its advance roll or charge rolls. Not the most important.
Yeah, ignoring modifiers to hit is cool on like a shooting night, but
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's too situational to spend pre-game on your
problem. Like you're gonna like take that pre-game and you're gonna play against like Imperial Guard or like Custodes where they just aren't hit modifiers. Although the charge modifiers is cool against Custodes.
To clear, ignore any or all modifiers to damage rolls is an interesting way to put it.
Oh.
Yeah, so it ignores -1 damage, but here's the problem: it only ignores it on rolls.
Oh,
yeah.
Jack.
I'm so sorry, John.
Why?
So if it's D6 damage, it ignores the -1, but if it's flat 3,
goes to -2.
No,
-1 goes to 2.
No, yeah, it does, because it's not a roll. Yeah, that's
an
unfortunate way to put it. I think they were just trying to lump them all together, and in the process, they kind of made it real bad.
Tell me what the relic is, Jack.
So the relic is the Crown of Jadathra. House herpetrax abhorrent class or war dog class model only, so not on the biggest boys. Each time a melee attack is made against the bear, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That's not the biggest deal.
So -1 to hit on an abhorrent class is nice.
It's nice when combined with the no rerolls to hit.
That may or may not be coming up.
That may or may not be coming up. But unless you combine it with that, there's so many rerolls to hit in the metagame that -1 to hit isn't the biggest deal.
It's also melee only.
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
I still might take that and like the abhorrent is the Psyker Knight, the one who's on the cover of the box. That guy, that's the abhorrent.
I'll be honest. These are 4 things that are not terrible.
Yeah,
but none of them are good.
None of them inspire me.
If this was -1, let's say to wound, that would be a lot better.
Melee, jeez,
that would make it brutal.
I would like that.
And if this ignored damage modifiers, let's say it ignored hit rolls, wound rolls, damage modifiers, and phase caps, then you would take it.
I would take it. Yeah. This is still like this is solid. This feels like. This is a very middle of the pack kind of thing.
Yeah, if this is one you end up taking, then the households are not that strong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But how about you take us away with House Lucaris?
That's exactly what I'm going to do. House Lucaris. They are conquerors without mercy. So, let's see.
So, Conquerors Without Mercy is the iconoclast.
Got it. Okay,
so
they're all iconoclast. But they have virtue through strength, which each time a model with his bond is selected to fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll when resolving that model's attacks. And crucially, this is in shooting or combat, because this is very similar to another one that's coming up. So you get 1 hit or wound reroll, so you get a total of 1 reroll each time it activates, but that is both shooting and combat.
Yeah. On expensive models, 1 hit or wound reroll every time they activate is not...
It's not as bad as it sounds.
It's not terrible, but it's not the biggest deal compared to like Eldar when they used to have real hit like and they
20 or 30
on
units.
30-point model, on 30-point units. Yeah, it was like the entire army reeled hits and wounds. It was gross.
That. Okay, but they have a stratagem. Trample them.
Trample them.
Trample them. In the movement phase, when you select a Lucaris Titanic model to make a normal move or advance, after its move, select an enemy unit that you moved across that wasn't aircraft. Roll a d6. Add 1 to the result if that enemy unit contains between 6 and 10 models, and add 2 if it's 11 or more models. On a 3+, they take D3 mortals. On a 7+, D6 mortals. So 1 CP, roll a dice to do D3 mortals.
Yeah, and you can just not.
Yeah.
You can just not hit the die roll.
Yeah.
I don't really see the point. I mean, if you're running over an 11-man unit,
I would do it. This isn't why you take Lucaris. Let's see if they give us some more reasons here.
Yeah.
Their warlord trait is very simple. They fight first.
That's not the best.
You usually, on the one hand, interrupting with knights is annoying because you want to use your CP on other things. On the other hand, by their nature, knights don't have a lot of units, so you're not getting charged a lot.
You're not getting charged in multiple places a lot in a place where you're like, damn, I want a free interrupt.
Yeah, that's usually not how that goes.
Yeah.
But they have a Serpent Strike Core as their relic. Select one Demon Breath Meltagun, Twin Demon Breath Meltagun, Demon Breath Spear, or Demon Breath Thermal Cannon, and it gets the following. It's now a relic. Delete that weapon's abilities. Add 1 to the strength, and add 2 to the damage of those weapons.
So adding 2 to damage sounds amazing until you realize that the weapon's abilities add 2 to damage if you're in half range. So it's basically a meltagun that counts as always in half range.
And it's +1 strength.
And is sure.
Which is like fine.
I think it takes them to strength 10.
I think it takes some of them to strength 9, some to strength 10.
Yeah.
So there are some interesting breakpoints there either way. This isn't bad. Like maybe on a Chaos Knight with a thermal spear or thermal cannon, you would look at it. Although that has now been renamed to a Demon Breath thermal cannon. We can look at those profiles again when we get there, but I'm gonna spoil the lead here. This isn't that exciting.
Yeah.
Lucaris is not an exciting house.
I remember when we first saw that, we thought, oh my god, it adds 2 to damage. That's gross. And then we realized it just takes the 2 to damage from half range and spreads it out.
Actually, you know what? I want to check this now, because what I remember is that the thermal spear is always +2 damage, and in half range it's +4 damage.
That wouldn't make any sense.
I fully agree. Weapon profiles ranged. What is it? It's a Demon Breath thermal cannon, right?
Yes, Demon Breath thermal. Heavy. Oh, they changed to heavy 2d3. Dope.
Yeah, so the Demon Breath thermal cannon is d6 +2. Oh, but it gains an ability of +2 anyway. So okay, so it'll always be d6 +4.
Yeah. So it'll always be Okay. And
so
heavy 2d3 makes it a lot better than d6. But it is 30-inch range. Oh, we'll get to that when we get to the profiles.
Get to that when we get to that, but yeah.
D6 +4 is interesting, but I'm not spending a relic slot just to make it go out to max range.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Okay.
Especially since I'm not too
psyched about the rest of it.
Yeah, Lucaris is like meh.
All right, we've got one more iconoclast.
So House Khmer or Chimera?
Khmer?
Maybe like chimeras or chimera.
I think Khmer is where I'm going with that.
Okay, all right. It's iconoclast, so good in combat.
Yep.
Household bond is rampant cruelty. Each time a model with this bond makes an attack, if that attack is made against a unit that was below half strength, this model is selected shoot or fight, add 1 to the wound roll. That is super whatever. I usually don't need help killing units that are already below half strength as like the thing my army does.
Yeah, that's going to be super cool in those games where it matters. I'm just trying to think what games those are.
It's also a unit that's below half strength. So like a 10-man unit has to be at 4 before you're...
Yeah.
Like, when is that ever?
If they would do a thing where they defined a unit as below half strength to be like a vehicle with half its wounds remaining, that'd be cool. But half strength is literally just on model count, not wounds.
Yeah, like actually thinking about it, when would this come up? A 5-man squad that's a 2-man, now suddenly you're good at killing it? A 6-man Eradicator brick that's down to 2 models. And you're like, well, now you're dead.
Now you're +1.
Now, you've activated my trap card.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's terrible.
Yeah, House Chimere, their trade is fine. But they got strats, they got relative traits.
Fury of Surtur's Wake. Use the it's 1 or 2 CP. Use the stratagem in your charge phase. When a House Khmer model from your army finishes a charge move, select one enemy unit with an engage or injure model and roll 4d6. If this model is Titanic, roll 6d6 instead. For each die result that equals or exceeds that enemy unit's toughness characteristic, it suffers 1 mortal wound. For each unmodified roll of a 6, that enemy instead suffers 2 mortal wounds. If this model is a War Dog class model, stratagem costs 1, otherwise costs 2. Now
It's a Hammer of Wrath.
It's a Hammer of Wrath, but it's not a great one.
I don't like the 2 CP version at all. I don't mind 1 CP, roll 4 dice if you exceed their toughness.
But when is that going to come up? That's 1 CP against Eldar, do 2 mortal wounds.
Yeah, that's an Eldar and Harlequin strat.
But is it even... It's good into Harlequins. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Eldar, you probably don't need help killing. Harlequins, if you're in combat, you may actually, because -1 to hit, no rerolls a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Or -1 to hit, and then sometimes no rerolls. And just doing mortals through their invuln is nice, but...
Yeah, it's pretty mediocre.
It's overcost as far as mortal wound strats go.
2 CP for like a potential 6 mortal wounds that will never be 6 mortal wounds.
No, in fact, it will...
3 is an optimistic take on this.
Yes.
Against Space Marines, it's 2 CP for 2 mortals.
Not doing that.
Custodians, 2 CP
Well,
for 1.
it is for 3 because one of them's going to be a 6 and 6 is 2. But still,
Oh, that's fair.
But still, so it's 2 CP for 4 mortal wounds on average against Eldar, 2 CP for 3 against Space Marines. I am super not jazzed about that.
Yeah, but they have their Maddened Cries, Jack.
Maddened Cries, Warlord trait. It's an aura. While an enemy unit is within 9 inches of this Warlord, at the start of each morale phase, it must take a Dread test. A Dread test is you roll 2d6, and if it goes over your leadership, then Dread test happens. We'll read that. It's a reference on page 97. If that test is failed, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So here's the start of the leadership shenanigans in the book, and they come thick and fast. Like, there's a lot of leadership shenanigans in this book, to the point where leadership shenanigans might actually be a reasonable strategy.
Yeah, I like that it's a 9-inch aura. That's a pretty good coverage. And it's each morale phase, yours and opponents. You can get a lot of like chip mortals with this potentially. Let's just
9 inches is a lot.
9 inches is a big space.
On that base is huge.
This one is an aura for any purposes that affect it. So, but like, let's just real quick check what a dread test actually does.
So dread test. Some rules in this book will require a unit to take a dread test. Each time a rule requires a unit to do so, that unit's controlling player rolls 2d6. If the result of the roll is greater than the highest leadership characteristic in the unit, the test is failed. Otherwise, the test is passed.
Yep.
So most units are going to pass dread tests when you call them to make them.
Yep.
8
is morale modifiers.
8 is like a guardsman sergeant, right?
I think a guardsman sergeant is 7. A space marine sergeant is 8.
So a guardsman sergeant on average passes it.
Yeah.
So you will need to modify their leadership to make dread tests hurt.
Oh, we can work on that.
They do that though.
We can do that. We can get there. So yeah, if you can just like chip a bunch of like a 9-inch aura of like take a mortal here, take a mortal there, every morale phase, that's gonna add up at some point.
It will for sure. Their relic is the Warpfire Shield. House Khmer model only, of course. The bearer has a 5+ invulnerable against melee attacks. And each time a melee attack is made against the bearer, on an unmodified saving throw of 6, the attacking model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all the unit's attacks have been resolved.
That one I like.
Yes.
I like a 5-up invul in combat a lot.
So there's a relic for a 5-up invul. Stock, I believe.
I
Or maybe that's just in
It might be a warlord trait.
Imperial Knights. Maybe some. I think it's Sanctuary.
We'll check there when we get there.
Yeah. This one's not bad because you don't have an invul in combat.
Yes, you traditionally don't have an invul in combat with these knights, and then splashing some mortal wounds in, and just every time you make a saving throw of a 6. It's not like every time you roll a 6 on a 4+, on a 2+. It's just you roll that save to 6, mortal.
Yep.
Mortal.
It means if they do 18, they hand you 18 saves to take.
Like 3 mortals back.
They take 6.
Yeah. It's that's just gonna be cute.
It's going to be super cute. Most of the time, they will not be able to kill you in combat without taking 6 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
I like the relic.
The relic is good. The rest
fine. The rest of it's like at most fine.
The trait is hot garbage.
The trait is pretty bad.
All right, you want to take us with House Vex Strix?
Do it. House Vex Strix. We are now moving on to the infernal houses. So these are the ones that get the warp surge, where they get that table with the mortal wounds. So they are Titankin. Each time a model with his bond is selected to shoot, you can reroll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll when resolving that model's attacks. So, wow, this is just so much better than House Lucaris, right? Okay, that is because this is only in shooting, not combat.
Well, it's not it's not an iconoclast, so it is worse in combat.
Yep.
But that is really, really good.
Yeah, rerolling 1 hit and wound on each knight will add up because knights still pack some pretty decent guns, it turns out.
Yeah, that's going to add up real quick.
Yeah. Don't mind House Vex Strix at all. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
The interception array for 1 command point. Use this in your shooting phase when you're selected to shoot. Each time you make a range attack, you can ignore any hit or ballistic skill modifiers.
So this is when a model from your army is selected to shoot. So it's before, I believe it's before like lightning fast reactions would be declared, anything like that. So that just sucks.
Yep.
But you can declare it preemptively. And it's good if your opponent has anything inherent built in that's -1, or they're in a forest, or if they're gonna pop -1 to hit if they can.
If they somehow have a ballistic skill modifier on you, tell them no.
Yeah.
Best Galactus hunters in the galaxy.
If they put ballistic skill modifiers on you, which by the way
works on indirect.
It works on indirect if there is any in the codex.
If there is any indirect in the codex, I remember.
Okay.
If there is any indirect in this codex, then this would work here.
All right. So that's not bad. That's a decent strat, especially since it looks like it's supposed to be a shooting army.
Absolutely. It's building towards shooting so far. You can give some of these weapons +1 wound A free roll to hit, free roll to wound, ignore hit modifiers. That's pretty solid.
Yep.
Warlord trait, favor of the Dark Mechanicum. If this is a War Dog, +1 wound. If it is Titanic, +2 wounds. And at the start of your command phase, the Warlord regains D3 wounds.
That's actually shockingly not bad.
That is not bad. An extra 2 wounds on a knight is cool. Getting D3 wounds in each command phase will add up, especially on knights that shoot and hurt themselves.
Yeah. No, that's the biggest thing. You're going to take D3 wounds on yourself. So the first one is free because you gain 2 wounds. So you take D3 wounds on yourself to activate +1 to wound, probably. Sometimes move, occasionally transhuman, but I doubt it.
Let me check when you use this.
I believe it is
end?
after.
In each command phase, do this, and you heal at the start. So I think you heal before you take mortals from.
That sounds right. It might be that you, since it's your turn, you can layer them so that at any point in the command phase you take the D3, and then at the you take the.
I feel like you have to do start before in.
That is my guess. So the first one is free, and then you heal before you do your
next one. Yeah.
Before you do your next one. This one's actually pretty decent because it's an iconic class.
Still a good warlord trait. I like House Vextrix a decent amount so far.
Yeah.
Finally, they have a relic for a Heretic Power Core. +2 to the bear's move characteristic. That's a good start. Each time you make a melee attack, unless that attack is made using a sweep profile, +1 damage.
So the problem with that is that the damage characteristic on the smash attacks is high. It's like 6.
Yep.
And making that 7 is just not something I'm into.
So there is some interesting things here. And that is that this only applies to weapons that are not a sweep profile. There are many weapons that have a grasp profile or a slashing profile that isn't a sweep.
That's true.
For example,
maybe even this knight right behind us.
This big boy right here has an attack that functions like a sweep attack. He makes 3 hit rolls for every attack, but it's not a sweep attack. He would get this relic and be very happy with it.
Yep, and you get +2 inch move.
Yeah, solid relic.
So House Vextrix is looking incredibly strong.
I like House Vectrix the most so far of the ones we've covered.
Yep.
But this is also the first of the Inferno households.
That's right.
We got 2 more for you.
Let's keep going. All right.
I like
House
that logo.
Comentis.
House Comentis.
All right. So they are an infernal household, so they can do the demonic surges.
Yep.
And they have profane symbiosis. Each time a model with this bond uses a demonic surge, if you choose to inflict 1 mortal wound, you can re-roll the D3 to determine what surge takes effect.
Yep.
If you choose to inflict the D3 mortal wounds, select 2 results.
That is good.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So the thing about this is I think the big knights would take the D3, but I think this little knights would take the 1.
The little knights, they don't like
D3 off a little knight hurts.
really badly.
Real bad. 1, you can get away with. D3, after 3 turns, they're all at half health. It's bad.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot. So that actually
this takes advantage
quite well.
Yeah. This really helps them being infernal.
Yeah. So your big knights can be +3 inch move and +1 to wound on a weapon. That is pretty solid. Encircling Hounds, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your movement phase. Select 1 House Comentis War Dog class unit from your army that is in strategic reserves. That unit can arrive from strategic reserves during the reinforcement step of this phase as if the battle round was 1 higher than it currently is, regardless of any mission rules. Now, this will not get used very often. What it will do is make your opponent screen you out turn 1, which is nice.
Because you can put Armigers in reserve, which you unfortunately do have to pay for.
Yeah. Now, you will... Against good opponents, you will never spend the 1 CP.
No.
What you will get is an extra turn 1 of picking up their screening units.
Yep.
Because
which is kind of fun.
Usually turn 1, people don't screen out that much. Like if they're going first, especially if you go first and they just deploy and then they don't get to do anything, and you're like, War Dogs.
Yep.
That means they're gonna have to deploy with units in the open to screen you out. And that means turn 1, when ordinarily you don't get to kill anything, you do. Which is very nice if you take grind them down.
Or something like that. Yeah. And also I'll mention that this is for War Dog class units, and the unit does not split up until it's on the battlefield. So unit of 3, it's 1 CP to get all 3 Armigers on the battlefield.
Yep. And your opponent's going to be, if they're good, they will be cautious enough of this that they will give you things to kill to screen you out.
Yep.
Which really helps out.
And if they're not,
and really helps get you ahead of the curve in clearing their screens.
Yeah. Just shoot them with 3 more X's if they just disrespect you. Be like, no, more X's turn 1. Here you go.
So their warlord trait is Dread Hunter.
That's a good name.
Yeah. Once per battle, at the start of your shooting phase, this warlord can make a killing strike. If it does so, select one ranged weapon. No, not punch. Ranged weapon.
Ranged weapon. All right.
This warlord is equipped with until the end of that phase. Each time an attack is made with the weapon, you can reroll the hit roll, wound roll, and add 1 to damage.
Is it add 1 to damage roll or add 1 to damage?
Characteristic.
That's so much better.
That is so much better.
So much better.
So
It's once a battle?
once per battle, and it's a warlord trait.
That is a good once a game buff.
If you think of it, it's like a 1 CP strat.
Yep. You just have to call your shot on which knight is going to reroll all hits and all wounds with +1 damage.
Yeah, choose wisely.
I'm going to put that on my Valiant.
Really?
Yeah. You can get you can reroll hits and wounds with the spear. The harpoon.
And it can be damage 11.
11?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dope.
Nope, this is a Megara weapon right here. That's who's getting that. That's a Megara.
Yeah, rerolling hits and wounds with the lightning cannon.
4 damage lightning
'Cause
cannon.
surprising-
+1 to wound because it's infernal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
And gets plus 3-inch move.
Yep, that's the one.
Yep. So
That's what I want.
because the profiles in this book haven't gotten that much better. They've gotten a little better. Most of them are quality of life.
Yep.
Like going to 2d3 shots instead of D6.
There's some improvements, less changes than we saw in Tyranids.
That is, thankfully.
Yep. Yeah.
So finally, the relic is Demonic Shrike. House Comentis Terror Shades model only. So there's a couple of the usually I think War Dogs mostly in this are Terror Shades. No, this guy's also Terror Shade.
Look at that. You see that? That's a Terror Shade right there.
At the start of each of your shooting phases, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer. Till the end of the turn, each time a ranged attack is made by the bearer against that enemy unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. That is really good.
Wait, let me read that.
At the start of each of your shooting phases,
Yeah.
select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer. Until the end of the turn, each time a ranged attack is made by the bearer against that enemy unit, improve the AP by 1.
So the lightning cannon could be AP 3 reroll hits, reroll wounds, +1 wound, +1 damage.
Really good. And it's always... Now, you know what's going to make you even happier?
What's that?
The Rad Cleanser's AP1.
That does make me happier, Jack.
Yeah.
That does.
Yeah.
Okay. I like Comentis. So far, Vectrix and Comentis both seem a lot better than the Iconoclast houses.
Vextrix seems like it's a little better. This one makes one guy really good.
I like Comentis for like allying in a knight.
Ooh, yeah. One knight that once again just goes...
You! Yeah, it just becomes a murder machine.
All right. Well, your favorite new
This is what I was talking about.
one, House Corvax.
House Corvax. See, their logo is a raven, which you can tell because they totally weren't. They totally weren't House Raven. So, they have Household Bond Forged in Terror.
So they are an Infernal House.
They are an Infernal House. So again, this is the last of the Infernal Houses, so they can still do the Warp Search. Alright. So, Forged in Terror. Once per battle at the start of any battle round, you can select one Harbinger ability from page 98 from those corresponding to the current battle round or any previous battle round, and that becomes active for every model with this bond in your army, even if not everything in your army is Chaos Knights. So basically, you get the Chaos Knight Super Doctrine once per battle. So here's the weird thing. It doesn't say that it stops being active at the end of the battle round. So I don't know if that's intended or not.
I would assume it's supposed to be just for that battle round.
I would assume so as well. But here's the weird thing. So there's this whole flowchart on page 98 for the Super Doctrine for Chaos Knights, where each battle round you get an ability, and you kind of get to weave your way down a chart.
If you have this thing memorized, God bless.
This is complicated.
What? I can't even imagine the Chaos Knight main that you'd have to be in order to memorize this chart. And it's battle round 3. I'm going to switch from Despair to Doom, and I'm going to get Mortal Terror, the ability, and then read it out.
Yeah, you're done with
That'd be crazy.
But anyway, some of these are really cool. This is a doctrine buff. Let's just leave it at that, and we're going to talk a lot more about House Corvax when we get to page 99.
But does it replace the current one, or does it add it?
It does not. Active for every model of this. It just says it becomes active.
Now, it has to be one of the ones that's for the current battle, because they change battle round to battle round to battle round. So it has to be one of the ones that is from the previous or the current. So you don't get access to turn 5 one
until turn 5.
Until turn 5.
But this also kind of makes me wonder, is it supposed to last for the rest of the game? Because they get better as the game goes on. like you're gonna like the turn 1 buff is not as good as the turn 2 buffs, and they're not as good as the 3 and 4 buffs. So like if you pick a bad one early, you get it the whole game maybe. But then if you pick a good one, you wait to pick a good one, you get it for less of the game.
Yeah.
I think I would play it as one battle round.
I think it's supposed to be one. The main reason I think
would
that
like to know
is because they emphasize at the start of the battle round you do it, and I would think if it was supposed to last the rest of the game, they would say that.
Yeah.
Now GW sometimes,
but it's also just once per battle.
it is.
So it's weird if like once per battle you get a buff.
I would play it as once per battle round until
an
FAQ comes out. I assume an FAQ will come out.
I think this is one that they would address. The
think this
wording
is
on this is weird.
Yeah.
But let's go on to the strats. This is getting spicy, by the way. Knights of Shade.
Throwing shade at people.
They are throwing shade. Use a stratagem at the start of your movement phase or charge phase. Select 2 corvax war dogs or 1 titanic model, and that selected model can move horizontally through models and terrain features as if they were not there.
So that is
good.
They can't be move blocked, which is like. So where this is going to be useful is not when you're charging your opponent in their deployment zone, because then you can't travel over the ruin because there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff behind it that you can't land on. You can travel through them, but you can't land on them. So you're going to be blocked out there. What's nice is that you can just go through walls. You can just Kool-Aid Man through the center of the board.
And it's a little hard to move block to like pre-plan House Corvax, because they can in their command phase just be like, joke's on you, we're adding 3 to our movement and moving through you in terrain. So like pre-measuring like front of base, back of base kind of stuff is actually difficult.
Yeah.
So Knights of Shade, pretty good stratagem.
It's not bad. It is 2 CP, which is a lot.
But
you
when
will
you
probably
need that-
use it just once. I can't imagine where you would need to use it multiple times.
No, but that one time you get it, you get your knight somewhere it wasn't supposed to be, and you're like,
Surprise!
I'm causing some chaos over here.
Yeah.
Their warlord trait is Lord of Dread. Add 3 inches to their aura abilities and add 3 inches to their dreaded abilities.
So the aura caps at 12, but the dreaded does not have that tag, does not have that rider. So their dreaded abilities would be 15 at the start of the battle outside of any other modifiers.
Yep.
That is actually really nice as long as there's a dreaded ability you really want to increase the range.
Yeah, whatever these dreaded abilities are, I'm sure we'll find out.
We'll get to them.
Rune of Darkness is once per battle round. When a saving throw is once per battle round. When a saving throw is made for the bear has failed, you can use this relic. Each time you reduce the damage characteristic of that attack to 0. Each time this relic is used, roll 2d6. If the result is equal to or greater than the bear's leadership, the relic cannot be used again during the battle. So, just fail a save and just be like, that looks like 0 damage to me. Then you make that leadership roll, and if you roll under your leadership, you can do it again later.
Yes.
But there's that risk every time you use it that you'll burn it out for later.
Yeah.
Imagine the poor fool who's like, I'm going to take just Long Strike and park him in the back. And you're like,
you will still take 3 mortal wounds, but
taking that sweet,
you're not
sweet
taking that
damage.
sweet 6 plus D3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is a really good relic.
I think it's really good too. I think it is really good. If you're going to live for multiple turns, there's a lot of armies out there with. This is after the saving throws failed, so you don't get to see what the damage would be if it's a random damage weapon.
True.
But there's plenty of 3 plus D3 out there. There's plenty of D6 that can be pretty scary. D6 plus 2, D6 plus 4 even. And this is just amazing. If you get to use it into like damage 3 a couple times, dope. If you get to use it into damage 3 plus D3 or anything higher than D6 plus 2, D6 plus 4, amazing if you get to use it multiple times.
Yeah.
That's like adding 10 wounds to your guy if you get to use it twice.
Yeah, super good relic. So
okay.
Good. It's also going to be really weird for people. People are going to like intentionally not shoot that one. They're like, hey, I can make one of my failed saves damage 0. And they're like, ooh, maybe this is not where the multi-melt is going.
Yeah, or like, a Ravager shoots, and it's like, do I want to have to bounce off invulns and then the one that gets through is going to be bounced? Like, no. It's actually really good. I think it's real good.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting house as well. And we're done with the named ones.
We're done with the named ones, but we have the Dread Households. We should also mention how Dread Households work with Dreadblades. So let me read the paragraph real quick. If your chosen Dread Household does not have an associated household bond, so if you're doing custom, you can have one of the ones here. So the first page is all of the Infernal Households, and the second page, I apologize, the first one is all the Iconoclast Households, and the second is the Infernal Households. So your Dreadblades can choose one of these bonds, and the Dreadblades cannot choose Infamous Heredity and Bound Vassals, which, as you can guess, is like the pick your own successor.
Yeah, count as
So
one
yeah,
of
so
the
the
main
Dreadblades
households.
won't be the count as the main chapter knight. You want to take the Iconoclast?
Yeah, I'll do the Iconoclast.
So Iconoclast is the one that's +1 attack and AP in combat.
Yeah, which
So
is
these
a
are
great buff.
the good melee ones is
Good
what
melee.
Iconoclast can be. And remember that the Iconoclast knights were the named ones were a little shaky.
The named ones were not nearly as good as the Infernals, so let's take a look at these. So, something to know, most like successor chapters or Order Minoris or anything like that,
Yeah.
you pick 2 traits. This one, you get 1, so they have to be winners.
just
Especially
one.
since you don't get a Relic, a Warlord trait, or a Strat.
Yep.
So they better be real good.
All right.
So let's go through them in order. Bold Tyrants. Each time a model with this spell bond makes a ranged attack, if the target of the attack is within 18 inches, improve the AP by 1. Fairly decent, not an all-around package. So I really wish you could pick 2.
18 inches +1 AP.
Yeah.
So builds into shooting when this was like a melee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not terrible.
Okay.
It's not terrible. But I think I would pick like a more well-rounded package with a trait, warlord trait, all that over this.
Yep.
But I'm going to be saying that quite a bit, I think. Frenzied Invaders. Each time a model with a spellbond makes a melee attack on a modified hit roll 6, scores an additional hit. No problems with that. That's Whirlwind of Rage. It's a very solid ability.
That real good.
Real good. Real good. No problems with that. Infamous Heredity. You pick Lucaris, Herpetrax, or Khmer, and you just become them, but not actually.
Not really, but for every rules purpose possible.
It's for anyone who wants to do those, but is too much of a fluff bunny to be like, oh, I know they're painted this way, but I'm playing them with these rules.
Yeah, don't worry, there's no named characters, there's no downside to doing this.
Yeah, you can just do it.
A quick note, though, is that because that can't be a Dreadblade, that means that you can't have a Dreadblade from, like, House Comentis so that the one allied knight doesn't ruin Super Doctrine stuff. So, interesting, because if you're going to ally a knight into an army, it's going to be a Dreadblade, so it's going to have one of these traits. So if you're allying a knight, these are the traits that matter, not the houses.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is true. If you're allying a Dreadblade, these are going to matter because they're what you have to choose from.
Yep.
Learned Idolaters. Each time an attack with an AP characteristic of -1 is allocated to a model with a spell bond, this attack is an AP characteristic of 0. That would have been a lot better if Armor of Contempt came out and everyone took Armor Penetration 1 out of their lists.
Yep. It's
Also,
gone from a book.
AP1 doesn't tend to threaten high toughness knights very well. That's like heavy bolters and autocannons, and none of those were known as tank hunters.
Yeah.
So if this reduced AP by 1,
Oh my god.
solid.
Armor Contempt I would think about.
You would think about it. You have good invuln, and things that scare you are high AP, so probably still not. Reducing AP 1 to 0 is just not a thing that matters.
Yeah.
Loping Predators. In your shooting phase, each time a model with the spellbond is selected to shoot. If it has advanced, then until the end of your shooting phase, it counts as having remained stationary.
Makes me sad that is on Iconoclast.
Yeah.
That is a very good buff on the melee part. But if there's a way to advance and charge, that becomes a lot better in my mind.
Advanced, shoot, and charge.
Advanced, shoot, and charge,
Very
like
solid.
that's kind of cool.
Each time a model with this so Precision Cruelty. Each time a model with this spellbond makes a ranged attack on an unmodified wound roll of 6, improve the AP characteristic of that attack by 1 and add 1 to the damage. So that's a ranged attack.
And add 1 to damage.
It's fine. It's fine.
I like
Again, a lot of these feel like they're supposed to be part 1 of 2, not the entire thing.
+1 damage is nice. If you have a good way to fire.
It's fine. I mean, it is nice that the AP goes on the high damage, so
Yeah.
they're more likely to go through, but
That one I like.
it's fine.
I'm thinking of Morax as just like...
Lightning locks, just...
Yeah.
Yeah, that would it'd be decent.
Like, that would be good.
AP 3 damage 2 on 6s is not...
Yeah, and you know, they already talked... Because, again, this is what you do with Dreadblades. They already talked about how if you take Dreadblades... If you take a Dreadblade Armiger, the entire unit counts as the same Dreadblade. So you could take a 1,000 Sun Army with an Ox of 3 Moraxes with +1 AP and damage on 6s to wound.
Could be okay.
That could be cool.
I'm unsold on
That's
just
fine.
6s,
That's fair.
but I think it could be
Yeah.
very decent.
All right, what else we got?
Prideful Wrath. Models with this fell bond whose characteristics can change as they suffer damage are considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for the purpose of determining what those characteristics are. Okay. That's not terrible because there is not really a way. There's no way to count as full wounds.
Yes, not... Yeah, I don't really think there are.
I don't think there is.
There might be a Warlord trait, but there's no way to do it army-wide, and there's no strat to just put it on a unit that needs it. So that having it army-wide is useful there.
It is useful on big knights that cost a lot of points and drop in weapon skill and ballistic skill.
Real problem when that
And
happens.
movement, I think.
And movement.
It is a huge deal when you get bracketed. And
do not want that.
They will get bracketed.
Yeah, because people are going to shoot you.
So this is actually super important for knights, I think. You
That
might just be priced into taking this.
That is one of the
unfortunately.
better ones, for sure.
Yeah. Worthy offerings, the last one.
All right.
Each time a model with this spell bond makes an attack against a monster, vehicle, or character, add one to the attack's hit roll. If a model with this spell bond has a favor of the dark gods, which we'll cover later, and it destroys a monster, vehicle, or character model during the phase, at the end of that phase, the offering is accepted, regardless of how many marks it has on its offering tally.
So I like this one. It's because it's +1 to hit in range and combat, right?
+1, yes, +1 to hit for range and melee against vehicles, monsters, and characters. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's
The
one of the
part
better
about
ones.
offerings being accepted, I don't think is that important. The main reason is that we'll get to it, but you need to kill a certain amount of wounds worth of models.
It's like 10.
5 for armigers,
armigers.
10 for medium knights, and 15 for big daddies.
Tyrant, yeah.
And most vehicles and monsters are going to have 10 or more wounds, which means most of your offerings have been accepted anyway.
Yeah.
And characters are a little hard to dig out, and this is very situational. The part I do like is +1 to hit.
Yeah, just +1 to hit against vehicles, monsters, characters just makes your knights a lot better at killing other big things. And knights, especially since this is Iconoclast who has the extra attacks and AP in combat, they're already pretty decent at killing the little stuff.
Yes. So I do think Worthy Offerings is good on like an allied one as well.
Yeah.
Just because +1 to hit, and if it's a vehicle hunter, +1 to hit vehicles, dope. Especially against monsters right now. Why, John? Why might somebody want to
Would you
kill
take like
monsters?
a castle and just be like, it's +1 to hit against vehicles and monsters?
The funny part is the offering accepted doesn't matter into Tyranids because everything is 15 plus wounds.
Darn right
So
it is.
offering accepted.
Yeah. I liked Frenzied Invaders, the exploding sixes in combat.
Yeah, these are all decent except for the AP reduction one.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
All of these are fine.
There's a couple here I could justify.
Yeah, I think Count as Double is unfortunately the best because it's just something you need.
It's one of the ones I like.
Yeah.
I would consider exploding sixes. I'd consider double wounds. I'd consider +1 hit against the biggest stuff.
Yeah. Do you want to take us through the Infernal Households?
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. So Infernal Households, again, these are the ones that can Warp Surge, take mortals, get some results off a D3 table. They start off with Bound Vassals, which is pretend you're one of the 3 named ones. If you like their rules, but you just didn't want to repaint your knights, don't worry, you are now a Bound Vassal.
These are in alphabetical order. That's why this one is first.
Yep. Dark Forging. Add 4 inches to the range characteristic of range weapons that you're equipped with.
Dope.
Add 1 to the strength and damage of Diabolus Heavy Stubbers that a model with this has.
Okay, which are sprinkled throughout the army.
Yeah, so like it takes Heavy Stubber to strength 5, damage 2, but still AP dash, which is like
Yeah. But let's read the last part of this one.
Each time model this spellbound selects a target for a Diabolus Heavy Stubber. You can ignore Lookout, sir.
Yeah, that is so memey.
That is like
Super
kind of
memey.
cool.
It's super. You can also give them +1 to wound if you really, 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 really want to. With the surge. You're not going to because it's a 3-shot gun.
Are you
It's
not
strength
telling
5,
me
damage
that
2.
you would overcharge a House Comentis Stubber to reroll all hits and all wounds at
Yeah,
damage 3?
what's going to happen is I got my, Knight Tyrant or whatever, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take D3, get +1 to wound to one of its weapons. It's Stubber.
It's Stubber.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But army-wide, that's actually a lot of sniper shots.
If you have a bunch of Stubbers built in, it's kind of cute.
It's kind of obnoxious,
It is kind of
honestly,
obnoxious.
against, you know who it's really obnoxious against?
Like Admech or Eldar.
Eldar.
It is really good at killing Eldar characters.
Really
Holy
good
crap.
at killing Eldar characters.
I'm
Farseers, get out of here.
All right, Merciless Tormentors. Each time model with this spellbound makes a ranged attack. If that the target of that attack is within 18, reroll a hit roll of 1.
I do like that.
That's not bad. Rerolling ones to hit just in shooting within 18. That's not bad. Is that better than rerolling a hit and a wound? I doubt it.
Well, you can do both. Oh, you can't because this is you can't. I would much rather really hit and a wound and have
all
access to a
ranges.
relic, warlord trait, and strat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're doing a Dreadblade, that's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Geists of Ruin, which is a weird way to spell ghost, I think. Each time a
This
ranged...
is like a German.
Yeah, it's like a
German doing it.
specter.
Yeah.
Each time a range attack is made against a model with this fell bond, If the attacker is more than 18 inches away, then this model is treated as having the benefits of light cover. So if you shoot it from more than 18 inches away, gain light cover on your knights.
That is adorable. The problem is the things that really scare you are going to be high AP weapons, generally.
Yeah.
And they are not going to care.
This is cool for just like cutting down the weight of like fire that comes your way. I think we're not in a super AP1 and AP2 heavy meta.
No.
But if we
Armor Contempt out there?
If we were, this would be very useful as a counter meta pick.
A lot of armies are going to be taking Ignores cover too.
Yes.
Because cover on Marines with Armor Contempt is a big deal.
Really big
And
problem.
one way to negate that is just to take away their cover. So if you have a way to take away cover, you're probably taking it.
You are.
And then this doesn't do anything.
But there's Hellforged Construction. Each time an attack with a strength characteristic of 7 or less is allocated to a model with this Spellbond, subtract 1 from the damage of that attack to a minimum of 1. Ramshackle. Your knights are ramshackle.
Well, you know what that's really nice against? Shuriken cannons.
I was thinking missile pods.
Missile pods too.
Salt incinerators on Hellblasters, but
What?
we're not going to think about those very
When
often.
are assault
Hey, it's good into
incinerators?
grab cannons.
John, you're killing me here.
I
Let's take real use cases. Shuriken cannons going to damage 1 is a big slap in the face of Eldar, and you can't be sad about that.
can't be sad about that. Hellforged Construction's pretty good. Just ramshackle on your knights. We saw how annoying ramshackle was on orcs because everyone's like, it's garbage. It only works against not strength 8. And then we played against it and we're like, wow, I have way more autocannons than I thought.
Yeah.
And now it's gone. So people are like putting it back in.
Yeah, the rate of high strength, of strength 8 or more, usually actually strength 8. Because if anything playing into NIDS has taught me, it's that there's a lot of strength 8 in the metagame that goes to strength 7 against them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of strength 8 anti-tank guns in the meta right now, and I don't know if this is where you want to be.
I don't know if this is the time for it, but this is actually really cool.
Shuriken cannons is a big deal.
I also love this in a team format. Yeah. And I'll also point out that this is the Infernal Households have options for transhuman. So they can just be like, so if your opponent has a bunch of strength 9 weapons, you'd be like, yes, but I am transhuman. And if they are a bunch of strength 8 units, then your armigers go transhuman. And if they're a bunch of strength 7 or below, then you don't do any of that because you're my ramshackle.
It's interesting.
It's interesting.
It was good again on orcs because a lot of their vehicles were toughness 6.
Yeah.
Because otherwise strength 7 would have ripped them apart. Your toughness 7 and 8, where strength 7 is really lacking.
Yep.
So I don't think strength 7 anti-tank is where it's at right now, so I don't think we're reducing damage. Shuriken cannons are the one outlier because they're going to be taken and they're going to auto wound on hit rolls of 6. Otherwise, Shuriken cannons kind of tear knights apart. But specifically Hail of Doom.
Yep.
But with this, their damage 1, they're half as effective, and that works against all the Rens and everything like that. You don't care.
Absolutely.
That is very nice.
Next up is Biomechanical Fusion. If a Dreadblade has this, it gains access to the Demonic Surge Traitorous Ambition, which means that it can, a Dreadblade, which normally does not have access to the take D3 wounds and roll on the table. Normally Dreadblades don't get that. Now, if they're Biomechanical Fusion, they do. If you're not a Dreadblade and you have this, you chose this as your actual army rule, then whenever you use this Demonic Surge, roll 1d6 and on a 4+, the wound is not lost for the mortals from the Demonic Surge.
Yeah, if it was a 4-up against mortals, that would be cool. But a 50% chance, it essentially turns the D3 into a 1 on average.
Yeah. Turns the 1 into like half the time a 1.
I'm not taking a
it's
house
not
thing to try and ignore that.
No.
Next, if you're taking a Dreadblade and you really want to give it a Demonic Surge,
you really
sure, but you can also just take one of these instead and get the bonus there rather than trying to offset the fact you don't have the Demonic Surge. Because Demonic Surge is good, but hurting yourself is a real cost.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Unhallowed Inscriptions. Each time model of this Spellbond would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound. Unless it's Demonic Surge, roll 1d6 on a 5+, the wound is not lost. So this is a 5 against mortals that are everything except the Demonic Surge.
Yep. But there's a second part to it.
And that is that you can add 1 to deny the Witch Test made for the Psyker.
Solid. So there is only one Psyker Knight. Well, there's a way to make any knight into a Psyker Knight, but this is the only one that starts as it.
Yeah, but you can take a couple of these. They're not bad.
Adding 1 to denies is not terrible. I would really want something on top of this. Like if there was a way to give it another +1 and then deny on like 3d6, all of a sudden, 3d6 pick the 2 highest, all of a sudden you are actually really good at shutting down NIDS. You're basically a Magnus. And
I don't like that.
that doesn't sound great.
Why'd you say those words to me.
Just +1 to deny is not.
Yeah, a 5 against mortals army wide is kind of nice though.
I really wish it was a 5 up against the demonic surge as well, because that is a source of mortals is coming in.
Yeah.
The problem is, I think each of those halves by themselves is not worth it.
If you could just take both of those, that'd be awesome. If you could like double up.
If they rolled them together where you got a 5 up against the surge and regular mortals, that'd be
so
dope.
good.
But the problem is, if you take it only against the surge, it barely does anything.
Yep.
And if you take it and it doesn't do the surge, it's like, well, my army's gonna be taking like 10 mortal wounds a turn. Like, I'd really like to have something against that. So
no kidding.
A little unimpressed there.
One last one here. This one I think is actually quite good. Warp Vision. Each time an attack is made by a model with a spell bond, the target does not receive the benefits of light cover.
That's pretty good.
Knights ignoring light cover. Again, a couple of Armigers just coming in and being like, we ignore light cover, and you ally that into your Thousand Sons, your Death Guard army. I like that.
Yeah,
I think that's actually solid.
I think out of all of these, I think Worthy Offerings is probably the best off of Iconoclast. That's +1 to hit monsters, vehicles, and characters. Yeah. And then you auto accept an offering if it's a monster, vehicle, or character, which comes up rarely, but it will come up. Like every so often, there's like a 4-wound vehicle or something, and you kill it, and you're like, "Oh, hey, look at that!"
Yeah, I like Warp Vision.
Right, like if you kill a Paragon Warsuit, even though it's 4 wounds,
You get it.
you get it. Because if you could destroy a model.
Yeah. So that's it for that. Next up is the Stratagems.
Strategeries. You want me to start on those?
Start off.
All right, first up we got Break Their Lines, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when Iconoclast household model from your army is selected to fight. So this is Iconoclast only. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes an attack, if the model made a charge move this turn, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So when you charge, Iconoclasts get +1 to hit as well. They're really good in combat. +1 to hit, +1 attack, extra point of AP. They really hit hard on the charge. When they hit you, you know.
Yep.
Next up is Hungry for Combat. 2 CP, use this stratagem in the fight phase. Select 1 enemy unit from your opponent's army. Until the end of the phase, each time a War Dog class model from your army makes a melee attack against that enemy unit, an unmodified hit roll 6 automatically wounds the target.
Yes.
So that's in the fight phase. That's a bit unfortunate because the best place for hit rolls of 6 to auto wound is on low strength attacks into high toughness models. The problem is that this is in melee only, and in melee your profiles tend to be high strength.
Yeah, each time a War Dog class, so it's only...
Yep. I don't particularly care about this in the smash. In the sweep, I also don't care.
Yeah.
It's just not that great. It's 2 CP too, so it's 2 CP.
It does affect multiple War Dogs.
Yeah, but it's because you pick 1 enemy unit.
Not doing that.
But still.
Is it shooting?
No, it's only in the fight phase. This is actually not that great.
No, that one's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
That's all right.
Next up is Pack Hunters, 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of the fight phase. Select 1 enemy unit that's within engagement range of 2 or more War Dog class models from your army. Till the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of each War Dog class model in your army that started the phase when engagement range to that enemy unit. So this is very similar to Hungry for Combat, except way better.
Yep, it's 1 CP, and you just get a couple of War Dogs +1 attack, which I think is... I don't know if it's statistically how much better or worse it is than an unmodified hit roll of 6 auto wounding, but I don't think it's much worse, and it is half the cost.
No, it is better most of the time.
Think so?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
If you have 4 or 5 attacks with Smash, then it is better to have an extra attack than to auto wound.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Probably true.
Especially since you're going to be wounding on 2s and 3s most
Especially
of the time.
since it's 1 CP.
Yeah.
I like 1 CP a lot.
Yeah. Pack Hunters is way better.
I'll spend a CP to get my armor just hitting a little harder. 2 is just tough to swallow. All right. Oh, I was just going to alternate pages.
Oh, sounds good.
Yep.
Next up is Skies of Fire, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. When a War Dog class model from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes an attack against an aircraft unit, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. So that is on any weapon.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Still War Dogs only.
It is.
A lot of War Dog only strats
model.
to start off.
It's just 1 model.
1 CP +1 hit against aircraft. When it comes up, something I want to
You're
have.
going to use it when you see aircraft. You really will. Especially since there are some that shoot really hard. The Helverin variant.
Yep. The new Helverin, it has a new name. That one shoots pretty respectably. You're going to see that.
Yeah. That one really wants against aircraft to not take the -1 penalty. All right, Murder Bliss, 1 CP.
What name?
Use this strategy in the fight phase when a Chaos Knight Slanesh model from your army is selected to fight. Now, none of them come with Slanesh stock, but when you give them an offering to the Dark Gods, or favor the Dark Gods, they can get the Slanesh...
yes, they can be... Yeah.
So, selected to fight. If that model, Slanesh model only, if that model is within engagement range of one or more enemy units that contain 6 or more models, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the model's attack characteristic. If one or more of those enemy units contains 11 or more models, add 2 to the attack characteristic instead. That's 1 CP for 1 attack. I do not like that. Situationally, too. Situationally.
When you want it, it's not going to come up often, but I honestly, I would spend it into an 11-man unit.
Yeah.
Because that becomes, with a sweep attack, it can become like 6 extra attacks for 1 CP. I'll spend that.
Yeah. Into a 6 to 10-man, probably not.
Unlikely, but if it's important,
occasionally,
like,
maybe.
If it's something like I somehow got my charge off into the Dire Avengers with the Swooping Hawks, and I'm like, they just gotta go. Maybe.
Yeah, with a sweep attack, I could see that. Especially if you're an Iconoclast, then you're just like, yeah, I start at like 4 attacks, but guess what? I'm gonna end at 7 and then times 3.
Yeah, it can just add up if you just really need to do damage.
All right, Tormented Wrath, 2 CP. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. Select 1 enemy unit from your opponent's army until the end of the phase. Each time a War Dog class model from your army makes a ranged attack against that enemy unit, and on a modified hit roll of 6, scores 1 additional hit. That is not bad.
Yeah. So 1 enemy unit each time a War Dog, not 1 War Dog. So several War Dogs pick 1 enemy and they're like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it really helps them drag down bigger targets, big units, potentially. So that is quite nice.
2 CP is like a little expensive.
It's a little expensive,
but because it works on multiple armigers, I get it.
I do get it. You're not going to use this all the time,
no.
But like against a big enemy unit that's slogging up the board, I could see it. All right, Crushed Like Vermin.
Yes.
1 CP. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Titanic Chaos Knights model from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes a melee attack with its Titanic feat, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll if that attack successfully hits the target, unless the target of the attack is a monster or a vehicle unit. The target suffers 2 mortal wounds, and the attack sequence ends. So, this is interesting.
Yep. We should put a caveat on that Titanic feet changed.
Yes, Titanic feet changed quite a lot.
Titanic feet are a lot worse than before.
Yeah, they really want people to make attacks with the chain swords. They realized nobody was doing that.
Yeah, they were like, why aren't people using the chain swords? We gave them cool stabby chain swords. Like,
they hit for 6 damage! Bonk!
Yeah.
So instead what they've done is they've given all of the melee weapons sweep profiles because they want you to use the chainsword.
But they took away the sweep profile from the Titanic feet. So a knight that's 4 attacks and has Titanic feet will make 4 attacks.
I do agree you don't do this on like a regular knight.
Nah.
But really, you can go in with something if you have a bunch of plus attacks, like your Iconoclast, you have a Warlord trait or something, you have a Relic. You go in, you pop this. If you're, let's say you have some way to reroll hits, potentially. We'll get to that. And it's just 1 CP, and you're just like, yeah, listen up here. I mean, and it also makes a double gun knight pretty good in combat.
Yeah, you can just drop like a normal knight, like a Castellan or the Tyrant, or what would be a Crusader. Just like going into combat, being like, 4 mortals for 1 CP instead of my normal attacks. That can be very good.
It can, and if you stack it up, I could easily see this being like 8 to 10 mortal wounds.
Yeah, if you've got...
It is instead of your combat attacks, so it's not broken. It's not like in addition to.
But what if you had the Exploding Sixes trait and you go in and start kicking people? Every 6 to hit is 4 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cute.
Unless the target is a monster or vehicle. So you're still going to have trouble killing monsters and vehicles.
So you need to step on the little guys.
But the little guys will get stepped on.
They'll get crushed like vermin.
I do think it's pretty decent.
1
right.
CP.
Vengeful Outcast, 2 CP. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Chaos Knights model from your army is selected to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes an attack against an Imperial Knights model, add 1 to wound.
Very specific. That is very good some of the time.
Yes, +1 to wound in combat for Chaos Knights against Imperial Knights for 2 CP.
It's not going to come up often.
It's not.
I get why it's not 1 CP, but it's going to come up so little that I wish it was 1 CP.
If it was 1 CP, it would really burn Imperial Knights, and I don't think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, unless Imperial Knights have their own version of this.
Which I don't know.
I don't actually remember.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's 4-page strat, so let's get to the next one.
Yes.
Trail of Destruction for 2 CP.
For
1 CP. Oh, this is the new one. This used to be 2 CP reroll all hits. Now it is when a Chaos Knights model from your army is selected to shoot, or on the fight phase when they're chosen to fight. Until the end of the phase, each time you make an attack, the target is within range of an objective marker, reroll a hit roll of 1. So 1 CP, reroll 1s to hit against an enemy unit near an objective marker that is shooting or combat. I love that you can get this on, like, if you spent 2 CP on Trail of Destruction and Break Their Lines, and you were just like, my weapon skill 3 Knight is going in. He's hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. You can make this hurt.
Yeah, especially
when you get those, like, bunch of attack knights going in. Especially
since a lot of the time, hard targets are going to be on objectives. Because if you're in between objectives, what are you doing with that unit?
Yeah, no, on an objective is a very light thing for me. Like, okay, sure. It's going to happen after the objective things. It's going to come up a lot.
Yeah, so 1 CP reroll hits of 1 against a lot of enemies is actually really good.
Yeah, I'm totally okay with that. Unyielding Rage for 1 or 2 command points when a Chaos Knight model is selected as the target of an attack. So this is only in the fight phase.
Yes.
Each time, until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated, that model subtract 1 from the damage of that characteristic of that attack to a minimum of 1. This is not cumulative with other -1 damages, if you should happen to find any. And it costs 1 CP for War Dogs, otherwise it's 2.
That is brutal.
That is brutal. This is one of the strats that is actually getting me excited.
So I forgot that was even in there.
What? Oh, this was like one of the best ones. Because there's a lot of strats in here. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll use that. But it's not why.
Unyielding Rage ruins melee armies.
Yeah, when the Chaos Knight goes in and is like, -1 damage.
Because, don't worry, there are other defensive mechanisms in this book.
There are.
And if you run into a melee army and you're like, yeah, you're -1 damage and all these other stuff, all of a sudden you have a big boy that is just not going away. Not going away.
It's deadly. Titanic Duel. This one is so fun.
John.
Alright. Use stratagem in the fight phase when a Chaos Knight army from your model from your army is selected to fight. Select an enemy Titanic unit that is within engagement range of the model. It's this one again. Holy crap, this one made it back. I forgot about this one. You and your opponent secretly choose a number from 1 to 3 on a d6. We suggest turning a d6 to show the number, but concealing this behind your hand. Then reveal your choice simultaneously. If they differ, add the number you chose to the attacks characteristic of your Chaos Knight. But melee attacks made by that model can only target Titanic.
This is super
adorable.
That is so cool. I wish there were more mechanics like this in 40K, and they're just
art.
It's a risk-reward sort of scenario.
Yeah.
Both players, as soon as you pop the strat, both players have a really interesting choice to make.
Yep.
What do I think they're going to do? And it's pure mind games.
Yep.
Do you go for a 1? You probably don't go for a 1. You probably go for either a 2 or a 3. Unless that's what they think you're
And then you're going to go for the one just be 1 CP plus 1 attack into Titanic unit. Kapow.
Kapow. But it's like, are they getting greedy and going for the 3? Are they playing it more safe and going for the 2? If you guess right, they get 0. Yeah. But if you guess wrong, you're going to get crumped.
Are you going to put the 3 down when against your opponent just to make sure that they don't get 3? And if they get 1 or 2, it sucks. But it's the worst thing that could happen is they get 3 and I guess 2.
Yeah, and it's pure mind games. It's pure mind games. If you out-mind game your opponent, you get a bunch of extra attacks.
How often are we doing this?
To be clear, this is 1 CP plus 1 attack if you want it. Because if you are the opponent, you put down a 1, you are a big brain lad.
My brain is much too smooth for that.
If I know my opponent always puts down a 1, sure, but no one's going to do that.
No one's going to do it. So who's getting enough Titanic duels to have an always precedent set?
Yeah. And I don't even know why you would make it a 1.
Go for the 3.
Go for the 3. Unless that's what they want you to think. And then they're going to put a 2 down and you're going to look like the biggest idiot on the playground.
The secret when the Night Mirror matches everywhere is to do a 3. Is to do a 1 every single round, and then on the final tables you switch to 3, and you're like, get over it, bang.
You go on every podcast and you talk about how you only pick
ones
because they never see it coming, and then in the finals you're like 3.
Yep, never saw it coming.
So I think this strat is dope. I don't think it's that great.
It's never going to come up because it's only when your Chaos Knights are hitting Titanic models.
Yeah,
it means only the Night Mirror match.
I don't think it's an amazing strat because it can be 1 CP do nothing.
Can be 1/3 chance.
If 1 CP is literally doing nothing.
Honest to God, brutal. if I was the Chaos Knight player, I would be like, hey, I'm gonna put the dice behind my hand and I would roll it. I would make the show of rolling it, just being like, what are you gonna do about that?
That's actually really good because I really like that actually.
Just be like, you can't guess, bink.
Because then the thing is at that point you're locking yourself out of getting a 3. If I know you're randomizing it, boom, I'm putting down a 3. 100%. I'll show it to you. This is a 3.
If I rolled the 3, then I would change it. But I just roll it for dramatic effect, and if I don't like the result, I'll change it.
Okay, yeah, you can do a lot of fun stuff with this. This would be very fun. Right. I don't think you should ever roll it, though, because you're locking yourself out ever getting it.
I'm going to go on the podcast. I roll it every time. All right. Beseech the Dark Gods.
Beseech the Dark Gods.
Use this stratagem when a Chaos Knight Pantheon Undivided model from your army is destroyed, but does not explode.
Again, that's you will get Pantheon Undivided is from the Gifts of the Dark Gods.
Yep. Roll 1d6 at the end of the phase. On a 4+, set that model back up on the battlefield with 3 wounds remaining, as close as possible and not in engagement range. It is, for War Dogs, it is 1 CP. For everyone else, it is 2. 2 CP for a 50-50 shot of doing nothing sounds terrible. But when you hit that 4+...
But here's the thing. On Titanic, whatever. On War Dogs...
I'll just spend that CP every time.
It's 1 CP!
Yeah!
And you're OBSEC! Whoop! Like, you run onto the center objective and your opponent's like, oh god.
Yeah, like 50% chance the Tau shooting phase does not clear me off. I will do that 4 times to get the primary twice.
Yeah. That's really good.
What are they going to do? Charge me? Absolutely not. I think not. And the fun part is if you hit that 4+, you then don't have to throw away a unit because they just park there and they're like, yeah, I'm still here.
Stratagem can only be used once per battle.
Once per battle.
So you can't spam it. And you can't build a plan around it, John.
I really would have. That's fair. Yeah. I would have used it 5 times against Tau. When like Long Strike is like just absolutely whacking weeds out there.
Because you stand up with 3 on a War Dog that's OBSEC. Like, they're not clearing that in combat. They could set up their real hits and wounds guy and probably kill it, but like, are they going to?
Nah. Okay, all right. On a big night, when it works, absolute big money plays.
I think where this is going to be at its best is 1 CP on an armiger that's on an objective that they can't deal with in combat. Mm-hmm. They just killed it. Just 50% chance to prevent their stranglehold, 50% chance to get a 12.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and at high levels, that will just swing a game by itself.
Yeah, you can swing games with this.
Yeah, it's 1 CP, 4 up, get like 7 victory points.
I'll take it.
Seems good.
Abominable Constitution for 1 or 2 command points.
To be fair, by the way, if that was not once per battle, it would be obnoxious.
Yeah, no, I was about to be a real jerk with this, so I'm kind of, it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
All right, Abominable Constitution for 1 or 2 command points. Use this stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Chaos Knight Nurgle model from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, that model is considered to have its full wounds remaining for the purpose of determining its wound character counts profile.
So that is real good.
That is real good. Armiger costs 1, otherwise costs 2. Has to be Nurgle, which again you have to buy a thing for, but obviously they're doing a themed strat for each of the god alignments. Still, that is a very good strat and an incentive to take some Nurgle Knights. I like big knights that count as top tier.
Yeah, the Slanesh Murder Bliss one is super whatever. This one, very good. Yeah, it's a draw towards being Nurgle.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, beseech the dank gods.
Beseeching the dank gods.
That one's Chaos Undivided.
Yes.
So not everyone gets access to it.
No, yeah, it's not. And Pantheon Undivided is the keyword you have to get. It's not what you
do have to buy the upgrade that gives this.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I wish this was going back to that. I wish you could succeed at it once per battle.
That would be kind of cool.
That would be kind of
cool. Only pass this once per battle. Okay, that'd be cool.
Once it's passed or whatever. Right. Yeah. But we're talking about Abominable Constitution.
Yeah. But how about Abominable Constitution? That's a reason to buy some Nurgle upgrades right there. Where if I'm like running out of points in the list, I'm not sure what I want. I would start tossing Nurgle onto knights just to try to get this useful. But it is going to be points every time you buy the keyword because it comes with other effects. But still, unlocking
sometimes
this
some of the effects are good,
and this is a good strat to unlock.
It's a great strat to unlock. Also, you can try and cover everybody by having like a warlord trait that gives this effect, and then you buy Nurgle for some people.
And you have a Dreadblade hanging out.
Hanging out. So you can like cover your bases. Yeah, to a certain extent.
How about Doom and Despair for 2 command points?
I hate Doom and Despair.
Use the stratagem at the start of the 3rd, 4th, or 5th battle round. If your warlord is on the battlefield, select 1 Harbinger ability from the previous battle round. While your warlord is on the battlefield, that ability is active for every Chaos Knight model from your army. You can only use the stratagem if every unit from your army has the Chaos Knight keyword or is an unaligned agent of chaos thing. Okay, so 2 CP once per battle.
And it's the same as the previous one where it doesn't say it turns off.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say it until the end.
No, it doesn't. It's active for every cast my army. No. So I think again, it's probably fair to just use it for a battle round and call it good.
But I mean, I could really see an FAQ coming out that says, no, this is active for the game.
Yeah, but then, like, the longer you get better ones, the longer you wait. But then, like, the longer you wait, the less time you have it as. Like, that's a cool balancing thing. Yeah. We'll talk more about this with on page 98-99 when we get there.
So, but this one says, while your warlord is on the battlefield, that ability is active. That
just makes me think it's just there.
Yeah, that makes me think it sticks around.
Yeah, just while your warlord's on the battlefield. So that actually sets a time for it.
Yeah.
And it never turns off, except when he's not on the battlefield.
Yeah,
I think this one lasts until...
Yeah.
I think turn 2, you just spend the 2 CP.
Well, it's start of 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
Okay, so turn 3, you spend 2 CP, you pick one of the previous ones that's good, and you're just like, I just got this for the rest of the game, man.
Yeah, well, we'll take a look at the Harbinger abilities and see if there's any that are
really
good to just have.
Yeah. Okay, Death Grip, 1 CP. My favorite stratagem from the old book is back, and it is so much worse.
Death Grip.
It's just like a death tickle. Okay, use stratagem in the fight phase when an attack made with a Warp Strike Claw or Slaughter Claw, which, for the record, is it's the fists. It's just the fists. Or relic that replaces such a weapon is allocated to an enemy model. Before any saving throw is from your army's Before any saving throw is taken against that attack, both players roll off. If the strength characteristic of this Chaos Knight is greater than the model the attack is being allocated to, add 1 to your result.
Which, spoiler alert, most of the time.
Most of the time is going to happen. If you win the roll-off, invulnerable saving throws cannot be taken against that attack. Otherwise, the damage characteristic of that attack is 0. So for 1 CP, you've got about a 50-50 shot of accidentally turning your own damage characteristic into 0.
Yeah. This is this is for 1 attack.
Yeah. Not all of them.
Not all of them. 1 single hit.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 attacks, 1 of those 4 attacks.
So it is you use this strat once you reach the allocate wound step. So it's before they take the save.
Yeah.
So you do get to see if you got the hit or the wound.
That is super cool, especially since you can roll your attacks 1 at a time and see if this one would be the one that kills the model.
Yeah, like the last one. But like, what's the scenario? Your opponent has a 4-up invulnerable save.
Yeah.
And you're like, instead of you having a 50-50 chance of making the save, I would like us to roll off.
But it's a 2/3 chance you win the roll off if you're
plus 1.
If you're higher strength than them.
Because you reroll ties because it's a roll off. So you reroll ties until there's a winner.
And there are some armies that can modify that. Like there's some armies, not the roll, but who can modify their save.
Yeah.
So anything fair. With a 3-up.
If you get like Vol down to like a couple wounds left, and she's like, for the last one, I'm gonna use a miracle of ice, and you're like, not so fast,
crump.
But like,
you have to be AP 6 before you deny her armor save.
So your opponent needs to Your opponent needs to be AP.
I know, because railguns.
Yep. You need to be taking your opponent down to a 4-up invuln versus them having no save at all for this to be even a mathematical consideration.
Yeah.
If they have a 5-up invuln, it is better to let them take the invuln than to try to roll off and risk going to damage 0.
Yes. Now, if they're willing to re-roll the save...
Yeah. But then you're spending a CP to hope that your roll-off is better than them re-rolling a 5-up. Like, holy crap! Yep. What are we doing here?
But if they're Harlequins, they have luck dice in the bank, and you just want to kill them. I don't even know what the scenario is we're talking about right here.
Jack,
but like, come on, you have one. You can't tell me this won't come up. Where you're like, I just need to kill you, and you have a 4-up save.
Come up.
You're
gonna spend a CP to roll off with Nick instead of making him just roll a 4-up.
Yeah, it depends.
Crap. All right, you know what? Baccarat has Fate Dice left, and you got a 3 damage weapon going through. That's also AP 5 to make sure he doesn't just pass it anyway.
Okay, there might be some weapons that are AP 5. I don't know.
There aren't. But there probably are. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Well, it's specifically the Warp Strike Claw or Slaughter Claw.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So we can see the Warp Strike Claw is AP 3. What?
Come on, man.
Oh, come on, dude. Like, come on. It's AP 3.
Like, what are you talking about?
Or a relic that replaces it.
Okay, well, when we get to the relics and we find an AP 5 Power Claw, we're going to think, yeah, you're going to take this for Death Grip. Like, get out of here, Jack.
Slaughter Claw is also AP3. Yeah. No,
this is a bad strat.
It is a bad strat. There is
fine.
occasionally a time when you just have to kill like a character or something to win the game. You just have to.
I'm gonna sit down and do the math. All right, a roll off with +1 versus a 5-up invuln that they can re-roll. Like,
the math is very simple. If it's better than a 5-up invuln, you basically reduce their invuln to a 5-up non-rerollable invuln.
I guess.
Because it's a 2 out of 3 if you're +1 that you win the roll off.
All right.
Statistically.
Okay. I'll trust you that you've done the math on that because I sure haven't.
Yeah, I've done the math on roll offs.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Spiteful Demise. This one's actually pretty cool. 1 to 3 CP.
But it is a bad strat, just to be clear. The extremely niche case where it comes up, it is dope.
Spiteful Demise, Jack.
Spiteful Demise.
All right. When a Chaos Knight model from your army is destroyed, do not roll to see if the model explodes. It does so automatically. Boom.
Oh, thank God, because the 4+ was so annoying. Because you would spend in the previous book to get a 4+, and you're just like, well, I'm going to roll 1 through 3.
Yeah. So if the model... So if this is a Tyrant class model... Roll a dice on a 4+, the range of that explosion is 3d6. Because the Tyrant is the one where you roll 2 dice for every explosion, and on a 6 it explodes, and on 2 6s it's 3d6. So this is, it auto explodes, and on a 4+, the range of that explosion is 3d6. Yeah. But even if you don't roll the 4+, it's just a normal 2d6 explosion. Yeah. Here's the thing. If this is an Armiger, it costs 1 CP. Reasonable. If that model is an Abhorrent class model, it costs 2 CP. Otherwise, it costs 3 CP.
But the crazy part is, at every breakpoint, that's a really good strat.
Yeah, because on an abhorrent class is the Questoris class. So the Rampager, the Desecrator, the Abominant, all of the abhorrent class things. I think I accidentally referenced the Knight Abhorrent. I was thinking of the Knight Abominant. My bad.
Yeah.
The Desecrator, Rampager, all of the normal Questoris Knights, those are abhorrent class.
They're 2d6 d6 mortals.
Yeah.
If you spend 2 CP to detonate that in the middle of your opponent's army, they're going to feel it. And it's also great at 1 CP on a War Dog, too.
It's still
that just goes in the middle of your opponent's army. Let's make sure that's true.
Yeah. That War Dogs are 6 inches D3?
Yeah.
I think I actually checked that. But I'm pretty confident.
6-inch D3.
Yeah, that is a good explosion.
And then the big lads.
Big kahuna.
The Knight Tyrant is 2d6 d6. And on a 4+ with the strat, it's 3d6 d6, which is a huge range.
Yeah.
That's an average of 10.5 inches. So 10 to 11 inches on a base that's already this big.
I just want to get a knight
opponent's entire army
into an Eldar army. Just in there.
That's your opponent's entire army.
Right there.
What I want is for my opponent to leave it at like 1 wound, and I just charge it into something in the center of their army. And they're like, oh, I only did 1 wound at AP1. You're like, all right, I'll take my invuln.
Well, they don't have
invuln combat.
Yeah,
still.
It's all right. It's still cool. All right, Spiteful Demise. Love that.
And then you go, boom, right in the center of their army.
Yeah, just absolutely dropping the beats. All right.
All right, so we've got the suite of get a relic, get a warlord, but since these are knights, we're going to read them out and just make sure that they make units characters and they do all the things they need to do.
Relics don't, warlord traits do.
Okay, well that's super easy. Relics don't, warlord traits do. If they're warlord trait, they're a character. If they're not,
the relics just don't require characters.
Got it. So Tyrannical Court is 1 CP.
I think that one is actually a different.
Chosen by the Gods is different. All right, well, I'll take a look through.
Yep.
So 1 CP, Chosen by the Gods. Use it before the battle when you're mustering your army. Select 1 Chaos Knight model from your army that does not have a favor of the Dark Gods, and they gain a keyword. Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or Pantheon Undivided. A Khorne Abominant, which is the Psycho one, loses Psyker and can't do psychic stuff, but weapon skill and attacks go up by 1. And you can only use it once unless you're playing Strike Force, which most of the time you will, and in Onslaught you can use it 3 times. This is actually super good.
Yeah.
Because Nurgle is such a great keyword to have.
We haven't seen the Khorne or Tzeentch strats yet.
But the Nurgle one is hot.
Presumably, if there's a Slaanesh and a Nurgle one, there's a Khorne and Tzeentch one coming up. We'll
1
see that
CP to get access to a strat is a little
weird.
Odd.
I'd rather try to find the points.
Yeah. But if you straight up can't, 1 CP just to cover your bases is a solid place to be. You can't use anything that's a favor of the Dark Gods, and the favors of the Dark Gods seem pretty good.
So. They are. So I don't think this will actually come up much, but it's nice to have.
Yep. Corrupted Heirlooms is you give them a relic, and you can do it twice, give an extra relic.
Yep.
Dope.
They don't become characters, though. Tyrannical
Court is you give 2 knights in 2K games, you give them warlord traits, and then they become characters.
Easy.
Cool. Arch Tyrant, after you nominate a character, 1 CP, you can give an additional warlord trait to them.
Boom. Love it.
Seems really good. You can make one knight that's really solid.
I'll take it.
That's really good. It has to be your warlord, so you can't like ally one in and do that shit.
Yeah, he needs to be the warlord. But
He needs to be the warlord.
I don't mind it.
But it's pretty good. Bind the Souls of the Slain, 1 to 2 CP.
I do like this strat.
Use the stratagem in the fight phase when an infernal household model from your army is selected to fight.
Infernal is the one that is the warp surge.
Warp
Got
surge.
it. Okay, cool.
Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes a melee attack that destroys an enemy model, roll 1d6. On a 4+, the model regains 1 lost wound after it's resolved all of its attacks to a maximum of 6. War Dogs, it's 1 CP, otherwise it's 2 CP. That is really good.
That is really good. I like that on War Dogs a lot.
Yeah.
Like when you like get
Because they have a sweet profile on
yeah,
their attacks.
you can go like just kill a bunch of guardsmen and be like, I gained like 4 wounds off that. Thanks. Like
Yeah, you roll hot, you gain 6, and you're just like,
oops.
Oops. Yeah. That's real good.
Like on big knights,
I
too.
doubt the ability of a knight that is below 6 wounds remaining to actually heal 6 on this, because they're not that good in combat, especially in Infernal.
Yeah, but a big knight could be at like 18 wounds.
Yep.
And just be like, yeah, I would like to just like buff up these rookie numbers.
Yeah, that seems it seems really good on both, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a good strat.
All right. Hunting Hounds, 1 CP. Use this stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select up to 2 Dread Household War Dog class models from your army that are more than 6 inches away from any enemy models and within 6 inches of battlefield edge. You can put those models into strategic reserve, and they can't come out the same turn.
Yep, pretty good.
It's the start of your movement phase, so you have to set this up the turn before.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So you have to be within 6 inches of battlefield edge with 2 War Dog models at the start of your movement phase, and then they come back.
Yeah, I don't
That
mind.
makes it you have to plan this out ahead of time because it has to be both of them.
Hold on.
What?
I need to read something here. I need to read this with the comentis War Dog strat.
Oh, to come in 1 turn ahead of time?
Yeah, because like it says those models cannot arrive from strategic reserves in the same turn as placed in strategic reserves.
I believe they treat the turn as if the battle round was 1 higher than it currently is. I would say that does not stack.
I would agree, but I wanted to look at that real quick just in case. I just had to check. I don't think you should try to make that work.
No, I think that the restriction on Hunting Hounds overrides.
Yeah. It's also one reference is battle round, one reference is turn. Yeah. So I think that they're not the same.
Yeah. It treats the battle round as higher, but you still can't come in the same turn.
Yeah.
It's like
that seems like a reasonable thing. I just wanted to reread that.
It's fine. You have to set it up ahead of time, and it requires you to pull 2 knights off the board.
It says up to 2.
Up to 2. Okay. All right, that's better. Yeah. But, like, this is usually good for getting, like, retrieve Knockman data, that sort of thing, and knights are just not doing that.
But there could be some engage and off-front type secondaries coming up. I mean, I also don't hate it if, like, I'm just taking a conservative turn 1, my opponent's not hiding anything, and I'm like, screw this. 1 CP, I'm putting 2 armors in reserve, your turn, go.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Next up is a Long Leash, 1 CP. Use the stratagem in your command phase. Select 1 Dread Household Despoiler, Rampager, or Desecrator model from your army. Now select 1 friendly War Dog class model from your army. Until the end of the turn, that War Dog is always considered to be in range of the aura abilities of the first model you selected for Dread Dominion, Frenzied Rampage, or Taskmaster. So that means the aura abilities on one knight, whether that's the Despoiler, Rampager, or Desecrator, are treated as being in range of 1 War Dog.
Yeah.
Woo.
So it's for Dread Dominion, Frenzied, Rampage, and Taskmaster. I think we just revisit this in the when we go over the data sheets.
Yeah, we'll do that when we go back over them.
All right. One more page of strats. Power through. Unleash the Hounds, 1 CP. In your charge phase, after a War Dog from a Dread Household has finishes a charge move, each time a friendly Household War Dog declares a charge against an enemy unit that is in the engagement range of that model, reroll the charge roll. So this is 1 CP to reroll charges that you have to preemptively spend, and it's for all armatures? No.
You can just 1 CP the one that fails if it fails.
Yep. And you also have to get 1 in first. So, like, if this is like a scenario of like you got 9 charges from reserve, how many armatures do you have to declare before the first one makes it in? Like,
and it's still on 2d6 unless I'm not.
Nope. Yeah. Wrath Surge. Use a stratagem in your opponent's psychic phase when a psychic test for a psyker unit is failed whilst that unit is within 18 inches of a Chaos Knight's Khorne model. That psyker suffers perils of the warp.
Nah.
Yeah, I would. Okay. I wouldn't take Khorne just for this. You know how we were like, oh, I would take Nurgle just for that strat?
Yeah.
I wouldn't take Khorne just for this. But if I happen to have a Khorne Knight, because there are other reasons to take Khorne Knights, this is like useful to remember.
So the really nice part about making enemy Psykers perils
is that they can die.
And
explode.
The explosion is whatever. What I'm trying to get to is... Sure.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get to is that ordinarily if somebody perils and dies, their spell fails.
Yes.
Their spell has already failed here. I'm significantly less invested. And in addition, so if this had been like if they perils on 2d3 instead, that would be very interesting.
I would love that if also it was like if they perils take extra.
Yeah.
That would also be cool.
I'm just less invested on doing
to...
1 CP D3 mortals to a Psyker if they fail power, especially because Eldar don't care.
Obviously, you ally this with your demon army as a Dreadblade, and the Dreadblade Khorne Knight just runs in there, and every time they fail a psychic test, you're like 3 CP, 2d3 mortals.
Yeah, let's look at the psychic armies that exist right now. Thousand Suns that have +1 to cast army wide. Tyranids that have 3d6, pick the 2 highest +2 or 3. And Eldar that just auto pass every power, they just don't care. And also, if they do fail it, most of their Psykers don't take perils. Now, Warlocks are hilariously vulnerable to this, because they are 2 to 3.
I would like to just detonate a Warlock in my opponent's army, though.
Yeah, sure.
You got to send a message.
When it does matter, it does matter.
You're casting powers on me. Boom.
Now, it's only good, I think, when your opponent has 3 or fewer wounds in the Psyker, which is just not that often.
Astropaths.
Yeah.
All right.
It's also 18-inch range. Like, come on.
If they're trying to smite you. Harrying Hunter. When a War Dog model from your army falls back, that model is still able to shoot and charge even though it fell back. 2 CP.
And it's War Dog only 1 model.
1 War Dog model.
And War Dogs don't move over enemy units.
They don't.
So they can be wrapped super easily. And then this is a 4 CP, don't roll a 1 adventure.
Well, you can't fall back and shoot if you just break out anyways, so it doesn't matter. But if you just get tagged, the Armiger just gets tagged, and you're like, you know what I want to do? Shoot not in combat. Go ahead.
I guess.
It's mediocre. Like, I'm not going to
If it was 1 CP, that would be
1 CP is
interesting.
Cool.
If it was 2 CP and could be used, well, Knights can already fall back and shoot.
Yeah.
No, if it was 1 CP, it would be a lot more interesting. 2 CP, when it can already shoot into combat and can very easily get wrapped, is like, I'm
not excited about that one. Yeah, that's all right. Reap and Rend. That is a name that I like. Okay. Use Stratagem in the fight phase when a Chaos Knight model from your army is equipped with a Reaper Chainsword or Reaper Chain Talon or a relic that replaces them and select to fight until the end of the phase. Each time that model makes an attack, you can never re-roll that attack's hit roll, but if that attack is made using the sweep profile of a Reaper Chainsword, make 1 additional hit roll. So each sweep attack makes 1 additional hit. So for example, the big Chainsword that the Rampager has is every time you make an attack, make 3 hit rolls.
Well,
for 1 CP, every attack you make 4 hit rolls.
But you can't reroll the hit.
You can't reroll the hits. But honestly, since most of the rerolls to hit are kind of like, they're not built in, they're stratagems, just don't use the stratagem for that, and instead use the stratagem for functionally +4 attacks. Or if you're going in with, that's like on a normal night, going with the Chainsword and 4 attacks. 1 CP +4 attacks. For like actual attacks.
I'm not against it.
And then, but that stacks really well with an Infernal or Iconoclast who goes in and is like, I'm +1 attacks, I'm going to make 5 swings. Each of those is now worth 1 additional hit roll. So now 5 attacks makes 4 hit rolls each, 20 attacks.
It also combos well with Slanesh, the Murder Bliss. Against 11 or more, you get +2 attacks, then each of those attacks gets an extra attack.
An Iconoclast Knight goes in with 7 attacks and is like, I'm swinging my Chainsword, and you drop a CP on Reap and Rend, and you're like, 28 hit rolls. Boom.
And if you are in the household for +1 to hit vehicles and monsters and characters, sure.
Or if you're just weapon skill 2 like a Rampager.
Or if you're weapon skill 2 like a Rampager.
I like Reap and Rend a lot. That is a good 1 CP combat buff. Yes. There's been some shaky ones that are a little situational, hard to justify. This is just good.
Extra attacks.
A lot of extra attacks.
I wouldn't trade out rerolls for it.
If I had them, probably not.
But if I'm swinging something that doesn't have rerolls, if you're hitting on 2s, it's just like, hey, get.
Yeah. And this is, if you're choosing between them, I think this is statistically going to be better than reroll 1s most times.
It depends how many attacks you have, I believe. Yeah, it depends how many attacks you have.
But if the more attacks you have, the better it's
I would much rather have a 33% damage buff than reroll 1s. Yeah. It's not even close, actually.
Nope. I don't think it is.
Not even close.
Diabolic
If you hit on 2s. Otherwise, it is identical.
Diabolic Bulwark. Use a stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase when a Chaos Knight model from your army is selected as the target of a ranged attack. Oh, this is just rotate ion shields. Okay, you have a 4-up invuln against range attacks. 1 CP for War Dogs, 2 CP everyone else.
But it does have a cool name. You will still call it rotate.
Yep, Diabolic Bulwark is lost. Rotate Ion Shields is my new friend, and it's 2 CP, including on the Tyrant class. No. I'm still calling it Rotate Ion Shields.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Diabolic Bulwark. That's what we're gonna call it.
I'm gonna activate Diabolic. No, I'm gonna
rotate my.
They're gonna shoot you, and you're gonna go rotate and turn the die, 1 down for your CP counter, and then they're gonna be like,
or 2, honestly. So Rotate Ion Shields now costs 2 on mid-sized knights.
It's a classic strat, so everyone's gonna know what it's called unless they're real new.
Yeah. The stratagem costs 1 CP, otherwise it costs 2. So
I do think +1 invuln on a big daddy knight is worth.
It's so when you need it. I think you're gonna use it less. Because it used to be, and this is also only range attacks. It used to be mid-sized ones, it was 1 CP. Big-sized ones, it was 3. Now it's 2 CP for it. So you're going to use it on your big knights a lot.
Yeah.
But
you might use it on your mid-sized ones, depending on what they're about to do.
Depending on what's about to happen. But I think because it's 2 CP, it's no longer an automatic. Just every turn, just slam it. Someone's getting this. This is now like, man, I really need this.
Yeah.
And
on War Dogs, it's pretty good.
War Dogs is pretty. 1 CP is still pretty clutch. Infernal Aegis for 2 CP. Select 1 Tyrant class model from your army in your opponent's shooting phase. Until the end of that turn, the model has the following ability. Aura. While a friendly Dread Household War Dog is within 6 inches of this model, that War Dog has a 4-up invulnerable save against ranged weapons. So 2 CP, your Tyrant, so your Castellan or Valiant, becomes a 6-inch aura of all my Armigers get a 4-up invuln. That is kind of neat. Because he can then rotate for the 4-up invuln.
You see how we're calling them Armigers and Castellans and rotate?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's just because everyone knows them.
Yep, everyone knows what I'm talking about. That is a good strat. You have to build a list that wants it, and you have to play an opponent that wants you, that's making you do this. But when you find that scenario, that is a good strat.
All right. What we got next.
I'm actually never been sure about how to pronounce that. Is that macabre?
It's macabre. Yeah.
Macabre projectiles. 1 CP. Select 1 Chaos Knight model from your army that is equipped with a Warp Strike Claw or a relic that replaces it. Gosh darn it.
Macabre.
That's macabre. Okay. If a vehicle or monster was destroyed within engagement range of the selected Chaos Knight model during that phase, you can now select 1 enemy unit within 9 inches of invisible to that Chaos Knight model. Roll a d6, subtracting 1 if the enemy unit selected is a character with a characteristic of 9 or less. On a 3+, they take d3 mortals, and on a 6, they take flat 3. So this is the one where you take your Power Fist, you punch a vehicle to death, you pick it up, and you chuck it at their friend. So it's a 3+ to do d3 mortals for 1 CP that takes little setup.
What did our knight throw in the APOC game?
I think it threw a Demon Prince at a Demon Prince.
I think it threw a Demon Prince at like Abaddon.
Yeah, we did. We threw a Demon Prince at Abaddon.
It was great. Killed them both.
Just
Abaddon was at 1. One was just like, nope, and dead.
Yeah. Maybe I threw like a kill rig at Abaddon. It might have been a truck. Something got thrown at Abaddon and killed him. Yeah. Look, when you're done fighting and you need to kill something, and this is like your last chance, 1 CP, let's get it done. That's cool. You're not going to do this just for the sake of doing it. No,
this is actually a fairly mediocre strat. 1 CP to do on a 3 to a 5, do D3 mortal wounds. Like, don't roll 1 or a 2 after already spending the CP.
Yeah, and it takes a good amount of unlock because you have to kill an enemy vehicle or monster in combat with a specific weapon. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that is pretty not great.
Yeah. Ravenous Terror Shades for 1 CP. Use stratagem in the morale phase. Select 1 enemy unit within dread range. Wonder what that is. Of a Terror Shades model from your army. That enemy must take a dread test. If that test is failed, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each point by which their dread test was failed to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds.
So a couple things about dread tests. 1, there are ways to make them harder to pass.
Yep.
Which is good, because otherwise this would be useless.
Yeah, yep.
Super useless.
Yep.
Because most units pass them on average.
On average, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to lower their leadership.
Stack in some ways.
The second thing is there's no way to auto-pass dread tests.
It's true, you cannot CP that. Look, if you just need to do some mortals to someone and you can stack some other dread abilities on them, there's ways. So I know we keep winking and saying there's more ways coming up, but like seriously, there are more ways. There really are, I promise.
Yeah, there's enough leadership shenanigans to actually make leadership shenanigans work. So for like an archetype like this, it's built around 1 mechanic. You have enablers and you have payoffs, right? You have setup and payoff. This is a payoff strat. This is if I've built my army to deck my opponent's leadership, maybe make them take dread tests on harder difficulties. This is a payoff to that strategy. I'm going to 1 CP go, you take a ton of mortal wounds.
Yep. It's kind of cool. We've got one more strat for you. Sorceress Ammunition for 1 command point. As you can guess, this is the Tzeentch strat. Before making a wound roll for an attack made by a Chaos Knight Tzeentch army in your shooting phase, do not make a wound roll. It automatically wounds. So it's a 1 CP. Do not make a wound roll. Automatically wound with a ranged weapon.
That's already hit.
After it's hit. Yep. And if this wound is allocated to a Psyker unit, that unit must take a Dread test. If the test is failed, the target suffers perils after this Chaos Knight's model's attack have been resolved.
You know what that's cute on?
A lot of things.
You know it's super cute on?
What?
The Sniper Stubbers.
I knew that was coming. But like, are you really going to spend 1 CP to auto wound to the stubber? If it causes a perils, yes. If you're just really trying to kill it. But really, 1 CP auto wound, like, you know that strat that Seeker uses all the time in Necrons on his stupid
Yeah.
I would use this on like a good gun. I would spend a CP if like the Volcano Lance of my Totally Not a Castellan, my Tyrant, is like, I'm gonna roll all my dice but one. Well, you're still alive. Last one's wounded.
There's also a gun in here that is just hilariously damaging on like the mid-size knight. It's like the Laser Destructor.
Yeah, no, there's like a Turbo Penetrator Laser Destructor round. This is coming up.
This would be good on that just to make sure they know.
You got to let them know. All right.
Next
We're up to the Favor of the Dark Gods. Take it away, Jack.
All right, so you can buy Favors of the Dark Gods for your knights.
Yep.
They cost you points, and if you purchase them, they gain a corresponding keyword to what god the favor is from, whether that is Tzeentch, Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or Chaos Undivided, Pantheon Undivided.
Absolutely.
So they come in 2 parts. They come in a main ability that you get, and a favored ability you get once you have, given a worthy offering to your god, which I think is a totally great way to do it.
Yep. How do they these offerings?
So the way the offerings work is you got to kill enemy models. Mm-hmm. When you've killed models with a combined wound characteristic of 5 for a war dog, 10 for an abhorrent class, and 15 for a tyrant class, you have satisfied the favored ability. You've offered up enough souls to the dark gods, and you get part 2. And part 2 is pretty good.
This mechanic is actually really cool.
It is super cool.
This mechanic.
What I like is that this isn't like I have to try at this for 3 turns. It's a
You
lot of times, like a tyrant class can kill 15 wounds worth of stuff in one activation and just get its ability immediately.
Yeah, just knock out a squad of 5 bikes and just be like, boom, 15 wounds.
An abhorrent class can totally just kill a vehicle and just get its ability.
Or if you just kill a 5-man intercessor squad.
5-man intercessor, you're done.
Kill a 5-man intercessor squad, and you're like, that's 10 wounds, we got it.
Yeah, and then you just keep track of how many wounds you've killed. So if you kill 4 of them, the next time if you charge into combat and kill 2 more, boom, you're set. Okay. So, so you keep an offering tally. So you don't have to kill it all in one phase. You don't have to kill it all in one turn.
As soon as you hit your benchmark, you unlock the rest of it.
Yes. So that is awesome and super doable. Yep. So let's go through them. Let's start with Khorne.
Yep.
Start with Blood Shield. So there's a lot to each of these.
There's 15 of them.
You cannot include more than one of these favors in your army. You can't. Yeah. You can include more than one. You can't include more than one of the same.
Yeah, so you can only take 1 blood shield. You can't take 2 blood shields.
That's right. So blood shield, and there's also different price points for these depending on whether it's a war dog, abhorrent, or tyrant class, which is super interesting. Mm-hmm. So blood shield is you gain Khorne once per battle. At the start of the fight phase, you activate the blood shield. When it does, until the end of the phase, each time a melee attack is made by the bear, invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against the attack. Mm-hmm. And each time a melee attack is made against the bear, invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against the attack.
You have to do a roll off or something, right? And you can make this damage 0. No, you just turn off invulns without having to spend a CP and lose a roll off.
All of the Khorne ones have the rider that if you give the upgrade to a knight Abominant, which is the Psyker Knight, they lose their psychic powers, but get +1 weapon skill and +1 attacks.
A nice consolation prize for losing Psyker.
Yeah.
+1 attack and weapon skills, pretty good.
It's not terrible, but it could be better. You probably are taking that.
I would rather be a Psyker. I'm just going to put this on a non-Psyker and call it today.
You might be able to, because they do have a decent weapon, but low number of attacks. You might be able to, because it's also not the one that's a sweep profile.
Yeah.
So you get to, you might be able to stack this all in super cool
some
ways.
Cute things.
Yeah. So Blood Shield, when you activate the favored ability, you get to activate it again.
Yeah. So once a game, you turn off invulns for everyone in combat, you and your opponent, because they're cowardly and Khorne does not want. And then you kill enough people that you're just like, I'll do it again.
Weirdly enough, for something that says it's a shield, you use it offensively.
Yeah, no, funniest thing. He's turning off the ion shield for everyone.
Yeah.
Nobody gets an ion shield now.
So this is actually really good. It's a one-use ability
Super
that when you
good.
use it, you will almost certainly fulfill your worthy offering tally
Yeah.
and then just get to do it again. And if you kill the thing that's coming back at you, it's until the end of that phase. So if you kill the thing you're in combat with, guess what? You get your invulns again.
Yeah.
Because they don't hit you back, and then in their turn, they hit you, but Blood Shield is gone. If they charge you, you can also activate it.
Also, there's not that many invulns in combat here anyway, so
whatever.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's also cheaper for a Tyrant than an Abhorrent class.
Which is weird, but also
Makes sense.
tyrants are
because
kind
this
of bad in
is
combat.
In combat. A lot of the Khorne ones are actually cheaper or the same price for the Tyrant versus an Abhorrent.
Yeah, so this is 45 points for an abhorrent class, but you can tool up a knight to do some real combat damage.
A Rampager with Blood Shield will rip through anything in the game.
Yes.
Except for...
Thousand Sun Terminators.
Well, also a Phoenix Lord.
Also a Phoenix Lord. Will not do that. 3 damage.
Yes.
Dang it, they got me again.
So,
Yeah,
this is super good.
love it.
I'm a big fan. All right, Collar of Infernal Brass. That one's also very expensive, Blood Shield.
Yeah, that's one of the more expensive ones.
Collar of Infernal Brass, in addition to the other Khorne ones, the model has the following ability. While an enemy psychic unit is within 12 inches, subtract 2 from psychic tests. That sounds interesting. 12 inches is so restrictive. During your opponent's psychic phase, which is after their movement phase, they're not going to be within 12 inches of you. Like the idea of, oh my god, I'm going to make a -2 to cast, and they don't cast their powers. That's not happening.
And then you make it fail with the CP.
Ooh.
Barrels, yeah.
The favorite ability is the model cannot be targeted or affected by psychic powers, which is decent.
That is much better.
And it's also fairly cheap.
It's 25 points.
25 or 15 for a War Dog if you want to just be
I
like...
don't just like that on a War Dog.
Yeah, War Dog kills 5 miles worth of units, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, your smites don't do anything. We don't do that here.
Just kill. Yeah, it's like if
I do actually like that.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. Throne Mechanicum of Skulls. You reroll charges in addition to the other Khorne stuff.
Okay.
And the favorite ability is each time this model makes a melee attack on a modified hit roll 6 scores 1 additional hit.
But you could combine that with the
Yeah.
the Dreadblade.
Now the problem is
good.
you do need to kill something before your exploding hits turns on.
True. So it would be a turn.
Yeah, it would be a turn. Or you're shooting and combat and you're hoping to pick up 5 wounds worth of shooting. I mean, if you kill, a Pyrovore, you get to turn it on, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad, but the fact that you have to be in combat already functionally in order to turn it on, the reroll charge rolls is super not a big thing, so this is mostly about the favorite ability.
Yeah. It's 25 for a normal for the Abominant.
Yeah, it's 25 for an Abominant, 15 for Tyrant and War Dog. It's fine. It's fine.
All right.
Pyrothrone. This is the first of the Zinch.
Yes.
If this model is not a Knight Abominant, it gains Psyker keyword and can attempt to manifest 1 psychic power. It knows Smite and 1 power from the Warp Storm Discipline, which we'll get to, but it's fairly solid.
It's actually pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. If this model is a Knight Abominant, it knows 1 additional psychic power and manifests 1 additional psychic power. And then the favorite ability is reroll a psychic test each turn.
Yep.
This one
35?
35 for an Abhorrent, which is the one that most likely will want.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a Tyrant who ordinarily does not have access to, say, the self-buffing psychic powers.
True.
Get access to them with Pyrothrone.
This is not bad. The
And
Zinch
it
ones are pretty good, I
also
think.
gives Zinch, which on a Tyrant is pretty decent for the strat.
Yep.
So that's pretty good. I like that. Cursed Rune of Fate. It's a Zinch one. Each time a ranged attack is made against the Baron on a modified saving throw of 6, the attacking model's unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all the unit's attacks have been resolved to a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. And the favorite ability is the model gets a 4-up invuln. This is really good.
Yep.
This is really good. And it's not that expensive. It's fairly cheap on a War Dog, medium cost on an Abhorrent, and very expensive on a Tyrant. 15, 35, and 50.
Yeah, this is a mid-sized one. But I think that the max of 6 mortal wounds to the enemy unit.
Yeah, you can do more than
So
6 per
like
phase.
each unit that shoots you. Oh, man.
You're not going to do that.
No, but
like you
if you
totally
just drop
could.
a couple mortal wounds on a unit every time they shoot you, it's like that becomes a pain, and some armies just can't afford to do that.
Yep.
Oh, I want to do this against like Eldar so bad.
Yeah,
They're just shooting like so many damage 1 weapons at me, and I'm like,
Yep, half your unit is just dead. You made me take 30 saves at damage 1. Yep, half your unit gone.
Yep, I'm wounded, and 5 of you guys are dead. It's like, let's keep going.
Yep, and then they shoot you with something else. And it's not like if you're at 2 wounds, it finishes it off. It's going to be 2 wounds. You're like, nah, take 5 and I go down. Yeah, that's actually really good. And once your favorite ability turns on, you get a 4-up indolent, which is solid.
Yep.
All right, Mirror of Fates, Tzeentch. While the model's on the battlefield, each time your opponent spends a command point on a 5+, you gain 1. Solid. It is. You can put it on a War Dog for 15 points, which you
Try to keep it alive.
probably will do.
I think I would just spend 15 points to just have CP regen, literally every game.
Yeah, that seems really good.
This is just an auto take.
Once per battle round after making... So the favorite ability is once per battle round after making a hit, wound, or saving throw, you can use Mirror of Fates. If you do so, you can change the result of that roll to a 6.
I do want that on a bigger night.
Yeah, I want that on a mid-size.
Yeah, 20 points?
On a mid-size, it's 20 points, yeah.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah, because once you kill
CP
10
regen,
wounds worth of it, you
kill
get
a couple
CP
things
regen,
and just start bouncing saves.
you auto-pass saves once a turn.
That's good.
You can stack that with the once per battle round turn damage to 0. And all of a sudden, 2 times during a battle round, you can just be like, no.
Not today.
And I think that's also one of the ones that heals.
It is, I think.
Yeah.
You can make some tough nights, spoiler.
Mirror of Fates
ones,
is super good.
The Tzeentch ones I really like.
All
right. So,
Nurgle.
Let's go Nurgle. So we're going to start off with the Putrid Carapace. This model gains the Nurgle keyword, duh. Each time an attack with a damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to the model, add 1 to your armor saving throws. That is, shockingly enough, the most expensive of the Nurgle ones, and simultaneously, I think, the worst.
What?
I mean...
Oh, it's a damage characteristic of 1, add 1 to any armor saving throw.
Yeah.
The favorite ability is pretty decent. The favorite ability is...
+1 toughness.
+1 toughness on a T8 Knight.
Yeah, going to T9 is a big deal.
It is. I see why they priced it where they did, but also I would not take that.
It is 20, 40, 60 on your scaling knights.
And none of those price points would I take it.
No.
+1 armor saving throws against damage 1 is not
inspiring.
Especially since the biggest damage one I'm scared of is Eldar, and it's going to be AP 4 on that.
Yeah, like when by the time they're wounding you, yeah.
Yeah.
Blessing of 1,000 Poxes, Nurgle. This model, each time it makes a melee attack on a modified hit roll of 6, auto wounds the target. That's kind of fine, but then
not great.
The favorite ability is each time you make a range attack on a modified hit roll of 6, automatically wounds the target.
Again, not great. You do get access to Nurgle, which is a great stratagem.
Yeah.
To act at full. It's fairly cheap. On a Tyrant, it's decent, but you are firing off good shots. You really don't need to auto wound on 6s to hit.
I like it though, because it's just against other big targets, it helps the math. It's also on a Tyrant, it is only 15 points.
To get access to Nurgle.
15 points makes it the cheapest on a Tyrant to get access to the Nurgle keyword.
Yeah.
15 points for my Tyrant to be like, yeah, he's Nurgle, he can count as top tier. And also, decent shooting buff after you kill something.
After you kill 10... I believe it's at the end of the phase.
It is.
It is at the end of the phase that the offerings are checked.
Yeah, and that's
so
fine.
The first time you shoot with a Tyrant, you got to get 15 wounds.
Yeah.
Which is possible, but might take a second turn.
But even just 15 points just to get the Tyrant access to the strat
I believe it's the cheapest way to get them access. It is, and not by an insignificant amount.
by a good margin. Next one is the Aura of Corruption for Nurgle. This has an aura, corruption of the body. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of this model, subtract 1 from the strength characteristic of models in that unit. Pretty solid. I like -1 strength more than +1 toughness.
Yeah.
And because obviously it'll work on anything in melee, and then it's just a 6-inch aura. And then when it gets favorite ability, it is a 6-inch aura of -1 toughness.
Which, for knights, I don't know how much that matters. It is interesting that they did a weird pricing scheme on this. War Dogs and Abhorrents both cost 35. Tyrants cost 25.
Maybe.
And I see why they did this, because otherwise, if it was like 15, 30, 45, I would just take a War Dog with this. And just run it around with that aura, just
being a jerk.
Decking my opponent's strength.
I don't mind it on like a Tyrant class that's trying to get closer, which would basically means the not a Valiant. I might pay for this on an Abhorrent, but also like I'm not sure I would.
Blessing of 1,000 Poxes seems pretty good.
That seems pretty good for
the 6s to hit auto wound, but mostly it's just a dirt cheap way to get a Tyrant access to counter top tier,
which is really useful.
Yeah, that's what you want.
All right, Quicksilver Throne. We're moving into Slanesh, of course. You gain Slanesh keyword. This model is eligible to perform a heroic convention as if it were a character. Unfortunately, no buff of if it's already a character, it's better at it. Just it's eligible heroic, and it always fights first.
It's all right.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's so easy to make your knights heroic by making them characters anyway, and the warlord traits you're gonna actually end up taking a couple of.
The Slanesh strat isn't worth buying the upgrade for.
No,
unlike Nurgle.
No. How much is the Quicksilver Throne? It's not
15, 20, and 10 for Tyrants.
It's not that expensive, which is cool.
It is, yeah, they priced it appropriately. I think it could have even stood to be a little cheaper.
Yeah, but it is cheap at least.
Yeah. And then favorite ability?
Is it can pilot, when it piles in or consolidates, it can go D3 plus 3 instead of 3.
That's not a game changer ability, so
No.
it's not terrible on a war dog that's OBSEC.
Yeah.
And you just go.
Just need to zoop zoop.
Yeah, and it's pile-ins or consolidate.
Yeah,
So you shoot, or the thing is, it's the end of the phase, so you can't charge, fight, kill something, and go. But what you can do is shoot, charge, and then pile in super far, consolidate super far, and get on objectives.
But there are better things coming.
Yes.
Beguiling Majesty. Woo! Love this one.
Yeah.
Gain Slanesh. Each of melee attacks made for this model against this model. Subtract 1 from the hit roll and subtract 1 from the wound roll. Do not fight this guy in combat.
No.
You will lose.
But that's not... But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. Beguiling Majesty Aura, after you get your favorite ability unlocked by killing some people, is one enemy units within 6 inches of this model. Subtract 1 from the attack's characteristic of models in that unit.
Turbo Dove. That is super good.
Just what?
Yeah.
That's so good.
That is so good. You put that on a Rampager and you just beat every single combat army in the game.
Yeah. Just wonk. And like, what are you going to do? Charge him and make him spend CP on -1 damage in addition to -1 hit, wounds, and attack? Like,
you can't kill that dude in melee.
No, this one just has to die.
How many points is this?
This is not even that much. It's not like cheap. But Beguiling Majesty is 40 points on the Abhorrent or Tyrant and is 20 on a War Dog.
You give that to a Rampager and your opponent is going to have some problems.
I would spend the points on that. That is pricey. That is good.
It's good. Now the question is, maybe you don't need to take it because the strat for -1 damage just covers your bases there anyway.
Maybe
in combat, like I think it's shooting that is going to make you
-1 hit wound.
I agree, but I think it's shooting that is the problem, not necessarily combat. But it is a super good buff against combaters, especially if you shoot something to death before your opponent's. Imagine if you kill something on Overwatch and you activate the aura of -1 attack.
Jack, why would you say that to me?
Just saying, imagine.
Imagine it.
Yeah, I'm just checking to make sure that actually works.
Yeah, it's in a phase.
Any phase. I was checking to see if it was like during your, like the end of any turn.
Phase.
Any phase. So you Overwatch, activate it, and you're like, yes.
All right, one last one for the God specifics. The Subjugator Machine Spirit. In your movement phase, each time this model advances or fall back until the end of your shooting phase, it counts as having remained stationary. So this knight can advance and do things. That's cool. And then its favorite ability is it can declare a charge in turn in which it advanced or fell back.
So the fell back part is only valuable
Really
for
armatures?
war dogs, but for everything else, there's Masterguard.
Yeah, it also counts as if it advances or falls back, it counts as remaining stationary. So armatures can fall back and shoot with this.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Everything else can advance, shoot, and charge. And the nice part of this is you can advance to get line of sight to shoot, and in the shooting phase, activate it, charge.
Yep. If you get that, those 5 kills.
I like it on
wounds,
that super Megara.
Yeah,
Because you're killing something with that.
Someone's going down.
The reroll hits wounds +1 to hit to wound damage 4 lightning cannon.
I do like that. It's not that expensive. It's 15, 30, and 20.
That's pretty decent.
That's reasonable.
Oh, you can't give any of these to the Megara. They're not abhorrent class, tyrant class, or war
They
dog
will
class.
need a forgeable FAQ for that.
Yeah, which they're surely going to get any day now. They didn't get it for the last Codex, but I'm sure they'll get it for this one.
I genuinely think they will, but we'll have to wait and see if that actually works. All right, there are 3 more. If you want to get them, these are the undivided.
One thing about Beguiling Majesty, the 6-inch aura of -1 attacks is a massive aura on that base.
And remember, there was an ability to get +3 inches to auras for Raven.
Yep, and it's as keyed as an aura.
Yeah, that is an aura. All right, give me these undivided ones, Jack. These are also spicy.
I think the best ones.
I would agree the undivided are better than any of the individual gods.
Yeah. Mark of the Dread Knight. This model gains Pantheon Undivided, which lets you stand back up. Each time this model would lose a wound, roll 1d6 on a 6. That wound is not lost.
That's good.
That's fine. That's
good.
fine.
I think it's good.
But the favorite ability is each time the model loses a wound on it, roll a d6 on a 5+. That wound is not lost. And oh my god, does that make you...
How many points is that one?
20, 40, 60.
I would 40 points to as soon as I kill an intercessor squad, get a 5 of feel no pain.
Yes.
I think I would spend that.
I think I would too.
I think I would on a Chaos Knight.
Seems real good.
That is good. All right.
Real good. All right, Warpborn Stalker.
Yep.
Pantheon Undivided. During deployment, you can set up this model in the warp instead of setting it up on the battlefield. If you do so, if it's a War Dog class model, any other models in this unit are set up as if they were a separate unit. If you do so during the reinforcement step, it phases in 9 inches away. And the favorite ability is once per battle at the start of your movement phase, you can remove it. And then during the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, you can set it back up.
I hate that it has to take a turn off.
It is terrible, but it's also not
cheap.
that expensive.
Yeah. I don't mind 15 points to teleport like a Morax around the battlefield.
It's fine because I would like to have a War Dog with access to Pantheon Undivided, but I really don't want to pay for it.
15 points on a War Dog. I think I would actually take this on a War Dog just because I want to have the access to it. But I, 1, don't want to take turn 1 off on a Big Knight.
No.
2, I don't want to take off a turn in between teleporting a Big Knight.
Yeah.
This is an Armiger one. 15 points on an Armiger.
It may not even be, to be honest. It's not that great.
It's not great, but this would be the time.
Yeah. So we saved the best for last, John.
We did. There's
the best one. So those were all, like, a lot of them are really good.
several of them.
Several of them.
More
really
than I can
good.
afford are actually good.
Yeah. Blessing of the Dark Master. This model is Pantheon Undivided. So this is not even the favorite ability. This is just the stock ability.
Yep.
Each time an attack is made against this model, your opponent cannot reroll the hit, wound, or damage roll. Flat, period. Just, they can't.
Get wrecked.
And it is not as expensive as the Feel No Pain one.
You would think that this would be like the most expensive one in the book. It's 20, 30, 50, right?
20, 30, 50. That sounds like a bargain on an abhorrent class.
Just when you start the game and you find yourselves paired against like Chaos Knights, you're going to be like, all right, which one's the Blessing of the Dark Master? They're like, oh, what do you mean? They're like, I know you took it. And they're like, you're right. It's this one.
Right. So that would be insane.
That would be.
But wait, there's more.
There's
The
always
favorite
more.
ability is each time an attack's made against this model, an unmodified hit roll of 1, 2, or 3 fails.
So as soon as it kills enough of your friends, it is transhuman to hit on a T8 Knight.
In combat and shooting.
Combat and shooting. And you can't reroll the hits.
It's so hard to put away.
Yeah.
It's so hard to put away.
You can, like, I honestly want to just take, like, a Mark of the Dread Knight, Blessing of the Dark Master, Beguiling Majesty, 3 Knights, and just be like, these are all ridiculously hard to kill.
Yeah, and don't worry, you can make a 4th one ridiculously hard to kill with a spell.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
So this is a phenomenal value
That is
for
real,
an abhorrent class.
Real stinking
A Rampager
good.
with this is going to hit you, and you are going to have a real tough time stopping it. But I like it on a shooting night because you can actually activate the favorite ability like right off the jump.
Yeah, you can get that good done. Snap. Like, you'll get this going.
So those were pretty great.
Yeah. Let's
Take us away with Warlord traits.
Yeah, I'll cover through the Warlord traits, then I'll hand you the Warp Storm Discipline. We're gonna finish this right up. Eager for the kill. So there's 6 Warlord traits to choose from, of course. Eager for the kill. Add 1 to advance and charge rolls made for this Warlord. And while this Warlord is within your opponent's deployment zone, +1 attack. That's cool. I don't mind +1 advance and charge.
I like it on the advance and charge.
Yeah,
one. You
I
can
think
just
I would-
purchase it advance and
I would
charge.
sync this with the Slaneshi one.
Yeah.
I don't love +1 attack in my opponent's deployment zone. That's a little hard to pull off. I wish it was just +1 attack.
It's not wholly within. So if you just toe in, you're fine.
Yeah, that's fair. You got a big base. It's doable.
Yeah, it's super easy to just be like.
If you're going downfield, like you're going.
And if you have a sweep attack, that could easily just be +3.
Yeah, it can be. +4. Rip and tear. Harbinger of Scrap Code. What a cool name.
Oh god.
In the morale phase, oh god, we're getting there. Select one enemy vehicle unit within 18 of this warlord. That unit must take a dread test. Okay. If the test is failed, the unit suffers 3 mortal wounds, and until the start of the next morale phase, they're considered to have half of their number of their current wounds remaining for the purpose of determining what characteristics they degrade at. And if they don't degrade, they reduce their ballistic skill and weapon skill by 2.
I like by 1.
By 1. Sorry, by 1. Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
If you can make dread tests work, and you can just reliably be like, yeah, that vehicle with an 18 is 3 mortals and a lot worse, that's really good.
This is also in the morale phase. This is after you've moved and charged
you can-
and piled in and consolidated.
Also, this is not in your morale phase. It's the morale phase.
that's actually super good.
That's actually really good. You just like start picking these vehicles and like, are you going to take 3 mortals? Are you going to take 3 mortals? You going to take 3 mortals?
18 inches is like the point where they just can't move out of range of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, Warp Haunted Hull. Once per turn, this warlord can attempt to deny the witch. As if it were Psyker, and if it is already Psyker, it can do it an additional time. And each time this warlord loses a wound in the psychic phase, roll a d6 on a 5+ the wound is not lost. Not against mortals, just in the psychic phase.
Well, that's nice against, say, Maleceptors.
It is nice against Maleceptors.
Here's nice.
Here's nice against Okay, that's not bad, but I'm not like super excited about that. Knight Diabolus, +1 to your world's attack characteristic. Now we're talking. Makes melee attack reroll a hit roll of 1. Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's super good.
The Knight Diabolus slaps.
Perfected their martial skills in apocalyptic duels with greater demons.
And clearly,
it shows.
Clearly they're still kicking, and I don't see any greater demons around.
That's right.
Infernal Quest. The Warlord is Obsec.
That seems good. Counts as 10.
Counts as 10 if it's a big boy. Done. Sold. I like being Obsec.
All right, our first dreaded ability.
Oh, we are finally getting there. Aura of Terror. While an enemy unit is within dread range of the Warlord, each time a morale test or dread test is taken for that unit, your opponent must roll an additional d6 and discard the lowest. Okay.
So that dread range starts at 12, and there are ways to increase. We've already seen one to make it 15.
Okay, so we're starting to get to the point where dread tests are getting a little harder to pass. We haven't seen any morale modifiers yet.
But rolling an extra d6, discarding the lowest is reliable now.
Yeah, we are now getting to the point that guardsmen are failing. Your leadership 7 and 8 tanks are usually failing. Space Marines are starting to fail, but Custodians are still good for now.
Yeah, you can Harbinger of Scrap Code and Aura of Terror because you can double stack Warlord traits.
That's true, yeah. So just pick a vehicle within like 12 inches and be like, yeah, that's the one. Roll an extra d6 on this and 3 mortals in bottom tier.
Yep.
That's good.
That's good. And there's ways to extend dread range, and there's more ways to pile on bad dread tests.
It does get worse, but takes through that Warp Storm discipline first.
So
there's some good ones in here.
There are some good ones in here, which makes sense because you have to pay like 500 points for the Psyker.
Yeah, right.
Which let's see how many it knows 2 psychic powers. We're talking about the Abominant. They know 2, and they can manifest 2.
Okay, so they know 2, they can cast 2. If it has one of the Zinch upgrades, it can know 3, cast 3?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. But they deny 1, and that doesn't change unless they take like Warp Haunted Toll, which you're not going to take.
Not going to do that. All right, so Winds of the Warp. Warp charge value of 6. It's an aura. Each time this Psyker loses a wound, roll 1d6 on 5 plus the wound is not lost. If the result of the psychic test was 8 or more, while a friendly war dog class model is within 6 inches of the Psyker, each time that model loses a wound, roll a d6 on a 6 plus that wound is not lost.
That's good. That Warp Charge 6?
Warp Charge 6 to give a knight a 5-up feel no pain. And by the way, that guy can be the R of the Dark Master and make you not be able to reroll hits, wounds, and damage and transhuman to hit.
That's so good.
That's real.
That's so good. That's such a good spell. I love this guy.
You love me? Oh, no, that guy.
This guy. He's so cool.
But you can also keep that on the upgrade. Like, you can make a guy super durable to kill. 5-up feel no pain, can't reroll anything, as well as Aura of Terror, Harbinger of Scrap Code, and a Relic on top of that. And all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, you can't kill this guy. And all my morale stuff works now.
Yep, and he's going in there.
He's in your army.
You can have 2 different knights with the 5 feel no pain.
Yeah. Seems real good. Real good.
Wow.
If you are buying Zinch upgrade for Knight, you are buying it for this spell.
This spell is amazing. They kind of start off with the best one, but there are other good ones.
Yes.
But this is, I think, the best one.
Number 2 is Vortex Terrors. Warp charge value of 5. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches until the start of your next psychic phase, -1 leadership. And each time it's selected to shoot or fight, it must take a dread test. If it's failed, then you reduce the weapon skill, ballistic skill characteristics of models in that unit by 1.
Okay. So that fun fact is that reducing weapon skill, ballistic skill stacks with hit modifiers, so that's kind of cool.
That's dope.
So if you can get someone, -1 leadership, taking dread tests on 3d6, take the highest, they're going to start failing at a certain point. We're getting there. It is pick 1 unit.
It is a lot of hoops to jump through to make -1 weapon skill.
It is, but it's also only warp charge 5.
It does it does subtract 1 from the leadership.
At least it's a nice low cost spell. If this was too high of a warp charge, I'd just say screw it. But that is an easy one to pass.
So next one up is the Storm Malevolent.
Nice.
Warp charge value of 7.
Okay.
It must be better than Winds of the Warp then.
Yeah.
It manifests as like one enemy unit within 18 inches until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time a friendly Chaos Knight model makes a melee attack against that unit, add 1 to the wound roll. And on an unmodified wound roll of 6, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to the normal damage. Maximum of 3 for each enemy unit per phase.
So, but then
it's melee attacks specifically.
Okay. So warp charge 7, pick an enemy unit within 18. Your entire army is +1 to wound in melee.
And does like 3 mortal wounds.
And does a couple mortals.
The only time that per phase matters is if they then charge you and you do 3 more. But like,
that's cool.
It's
like
fun.
I don't know how much you need +1 to wound in combat. But like this is cool as like a backup spell because you're just gonna like cast Winds of the Warp and Smite every turn, and then like every once in a while you're like, you know what, I kind of do need +1 to wound against that knight.
Dead.
Let's put it in.
Cyclonic Lamentation.
What a name.
That's great.
Wow.
It's a Witchfire.
Powerful. Yeah.
Warp charge value of 6. Every enemy unit within 12 inches of the Psyker must take a Dread test. Each unit that fails this test suffers 1 mortal wound. If the result of the Psych test was 11+, each unit that fails their Dread test instead suffers D3.
If this is on the guy who's a 12-inch aura of every Dread test,
He's on 3d6.
is on 3d6, that is going to start producing some mortals.
Yes.
You do have to pass the spell on 11 to make me really like it, but a 12-inch aura can get a lot of enemy units in.
Yeah, and when you do pass on 11, oh boy.
That's so many mortals. Like,
That is your entire enemy army.
This is just taking D3.
Because it's 12 inches of a gigantic base that is in the center of your opponent's army.
Okay. I kind of like that.
Seems pretty good. Yeah, I like that very, very much. Coruscating Hate is a warp charge value of 6. The closest enemy unit within 18 inches of invisible, the Psyker suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then roll a 1d6. On a 2 through a 3, the closest other enemy unit within 6 inches of invisible to that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4+ suffers D3. It's like Executioner with extra steps.
Yeah, it's a smite that bounces 1 to D3 mortals to the next unit afterwards. It's warp charge 6, so it's 1 warp charge harder than smite.
I'm not picking this.
Yeah.
Over some of the other ones. As a backup, I would take the Storm Malevolent, even if I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah, no, Coruscating Hate is really only for you're taking multiple Psychers.
Yeah.
But it's still a fine spell. It's like, I've gotten too many casts. Let me just throw out a little extra mortals. It at least is good mortal output and low warp charge.
Last up, Spite Squall.
Ooh.
Warp charge value of 6. If manifests, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the Psyker until your next Psychic phase. They can't Overwatch or set to defend.
Okay.
Not something that matters too much against Knights. And you keep a Spite Squall tally for that unit, adding 1 to the tally each time a model in that unit is destroyed. At the end of each phase, if that unit is still on the battlefield, roll 1d6 for each mark on its tally. For each roll of 5+, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. And then at the end of the phase, it's reset to 0. That is a lot of steps to not do anything.
Well, it's cascading damage, and I think it really only matters against big units. So the way this works is every time you kill a model, at the end of the phase, roll a dice, and then on a 5+, they take a mortal. So let's say you've got a 20-man orc squad, and you smite them and you do 3 mortals. Roll 3 dice at the end of the psychic phase. Every 5+ mortal, you get an extra 1. Okay, shooting phase, you shoot them, you kill 10 more. Roll 10 dice every 5+ a mortal, you get 4 more mortals. Now the squad's basically dead.
But here's the problem with that. It's at the end of the phase.
Yeah, so you need them to survive getting hit by you in a phase, and then they take a little extra chip damage each time they survive getting hit.
You kill a bunch, and you're like, it'll probably get finished off by this. But the problem is there's plenty of things you just need to make sure die.
Yeah.
And this is not making sure that they're dead.
No, this is a little too complicated to really have value.
Winds of the Warp seems insane. Cyclonic Lamentation also seems really good. Some of these other ones are fairly situational, but could be solid.
Yeah.
Want to take us away with Relics?
Absolutely. So we've got a couple pages of Relics. And yet. Let me see. You can, when messing the army, give one of the following Relics of Tyranny to a Chaos Knight character from your army. Remember that Chaos Knight's attachment gained the Traitorous Lance abilities, which enable you to select a model. Okay, so you do actually have to be a character for these. But, we'll make it work.
Well, unless you use the strat.
Unless you use the strat. Yeah. So, Infernal Household Abhorrent class or War Dog class only. So, each time, so this is the Blasphemous Engine. Each time you would lose a wound as a result of the mortal wounds while using the Demonic Surge Traitorous Ambition, roll a d6. On a 2+, the wound is not lost. That is better than before.
Yeah.
And the bearer has double wounds for the purpose of determining what characteristic its profile has.
That's not terrible.
This is a good relic for if you just have one knight that you're thinking, I'm just going to overcharge this bad boy every single turn. You're not taking real damage from it. You don't degrade very. So if you have a shooting knight that just is planning on just taking D3 mortals every turn, I don't mind a 2+ to ignore that.
Yeah. And
then double wounds on. That's cool.
Yeah.
The Veil of Medrengard. This one's good. An Abhorrent or War Dog class mod only. You get a 4-up invuln against range attacks and a 6-up invuln against melee attacks.
Seems alright.
I would take a relic for that permanent rotate on the Dread Bulwark.
Dreaded Bulwark.
Whatever it was.
Something.
I would take a relic to always have my Iron Shield rotated on a knight that needs to not be shot.
Yeah.
I would pay for that. That's a relic I'll take. I'm going to keep going because that was
just 2.
Not that many relics. Yeah, you have the back page. The Helm of Warp Sight. For an Abhorrent or War Dog model only, you ignore hit roll modifiers and ballistic skill modifiers, and you ignore cover.
That's not terrible.
If you're building a shooting knight, that is a good relic to have.
Yeah, if you're a lot of low AP, it could be pretty decent.
Yeah. The Diamonus is a relic that replaces a Desecrator Laser Destroyer, which is the one I made the joke about earlier, but got the name very wrong on. So this is the gun on the Desecrator. And this is 72-inch, heavy 3... Destructor, right. 72-inch, heavy 3, strength 16, AP 5, damage D3 plus 6. I'm going to just find out what the normal stats on this
shots. It's that, mostly that, but 2 shots.
Okay, like how much better is it, though? Because like, I know it's a little bit better. I just need to find out how much better this is. Wow, so many pages in this bad boy.
Yeah, there's so many rules.
Okay, Desecrator. So it is normally strength 14 AP 5 damage D3 plus 6.
This is strength 16 AP 5.
So it's plus 1 shot plus 2 strength. So winning T8 on 2s is a nice break point.
I like the extra shot.
I like an extra shot because heavy 2 is a little scary.
You're not going to do damage a lot of the time. Whereas the Diamonus is going to cut through.
I like this in that
really hit and
a wound is like
dead.
Like you're
dead.
You're getting a tank a turn with that, I think.
Yeah.
That is...
Unless they have an invuln, and even if they do have
even a 5-up invuln, you're getting a tank a turn.
Yeah.
They need to have a 4-up invuln or some fate dice to really be...
I actually really like the Diamonus in that.
It's kind of solid, yeah.
Yeah.
The Teeth That Hunger. This is a relic chainsword. Its strike profile is plus 8 strength, AP 4, damage 6.
All right, showing off.
And its sweep profile is plus 2 strength, AP 3, damage 2. So, and you make 3 hit rolls for each sweep attack.
It seems fine.
Again, I
think it's just plus strength.
I think this is just a strength buff.
Yeah, in which case it's terrible.
Look, all right, hold on. Reaper Chainsword is... Yeah, this is just a plus 2 strength chainsword.
Are you joking me?
That is all it is.
Does it have any extra sweep attacks?
No.
It doesn't hunger that hard, to be honest.
Does not hunger as hard as I expected. Wow.
Right. The sweep attacks are strength 10. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, like instead of 8, this is whatever. I don't care.
Super whatever.
All right.
Teeth that are kind of,
the teeth could use a light snack.
They could eat a snack.
They could snack. Like, hey, you want something? The teeth could snack.
All right. Rune of Noctigra.
Rune of Noctigra, which I'm sure I'm not doing right.
What is even right on that?
When you select this relic, select one... Oh, this is for Dreadblade only. Select one fell bond that no model from your army has. That bearer gains that fell bond in addition to any other fell bond it has.
So you do get 2 fell bonds?
I don't hate that. There were some ones in there that I was like, I could really use a second.
In addition, does this get around the ability not to select the successor one?
I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. If it did, I would take it.
Yes.
But I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. It doesn't seem right. All right. The Tyrant's Banner, which is for Abhorrent class Soma only, not Tyrants. Okay. Add 3 to the range of your aura abilities.
Yeah, the Tyrant's Banner is...
that's what it does. Yep, just add 3 to your aura abilities. And at the start of your command phase, the bear's on the battlefield, roll a d6 and on a 5, gain a command point. The limit of gaining or refunding 1 command point per battle round does not apply to any command points gained via this relic. Okay. So this is really good if you don't have all your relics filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I would always spend a CP to buy this if I didn't have my relics filled, because it's just like, it's at the start of each of your command phase, so up to 5 times roll a dice of 5 plus the command phase, and it doesn't take away from the other ways to gain a command phase. So that's like...
I mean, there's the argument that potentially this one can gain you a CP if you've already gained one, but if the next one is gained by something else, then they don't get to ignore the one that you gained a turn.
I feel like this one just is separate.
I would assume that it works as intended, but
I'm just gonna say.
I think rules as written, it doesn't, which is weird.
That is weird. All right. But
still 3 inches to the range of your aura abilities is also
we still haven't found that many aura abilities. But
there's one guy who really wants to just have the thickest auras.
That is true. There is one guy.
But auras don't extend dread range, so there's that.
Finally, the Bound Varadian Psycho Geist. For an Abhorrent or War Dog class model. Each time you make an attack on a modified wound roll of 6, improve the AP of that attack by 2. Each time the bear is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 damage roll when resolving that model's attacks.
I'm not
super hyped about that. That's not bad.
When do you care about the AP and damage rolls is the problem. You either care about the AP
5.
Yeah, you usually are either caring about the AP or the damage rolls, not both. Because either your high AP multi-damage weapon or a low AP single or double damage weapon.
Yeah.
That's my problem.
All right, there's another page of relics for you, Jack.
All right, what do we got next? We've got the Traitor's Mark. Bearer gets a dreaded ability. While an enemy unit is within dread range of the bearer, your opponent cannot select that unit, use the insane bravery stratagem on, nor can they use any rule that would let them reroll a morale test.
Very specific.
Yep, but it's really good on the guy who's because you can give this to the warlord trait guy who has the dread range of you roll 3d6, pick the 2 highest.
Yeah.
And this guy is just, you are bad at morale.
Yep.
Very bad.
Okay. Does it do something else?
Once per battle, at the start of any battle round after the first, after you selected a Harbinger ability to be active for your army, if any, you can select one other Harbinger ability from that battle round, regardless of what Harbinger ability you selected in the previous battle round. The selected Harbinger ability is active for the bearer for the rest of the battle. This does not affect which Harbinger ability you can select in your next.
Oh.
So this one does have a time on it. This one says until for the rest is active for the bearer for the rest of the battle.
I still feel like the one that was while your warlord is alive is for the rest of the battle as well.
I think the previous one
I think the Raven, the House Corvax one may just be a battle.
This is super good.
Yeah, that is actually
We'll get to it, but you just... Because a lot of those are dreaded aura abilities or leadership debuffs. Yep. And considering this guy's walking around with a 12-inch aura to start, so you can increase dread range, that says you cannot insane bravery, you cannot reroll morale. Insane bravery is always the Achilles heel of
morale
shenanigans. Yeah. Because you jump through all the hoops and your opponent just spends 2 CP.
Yeah, and it usually takes you more than 2 CP of effort to get there. Okay.
But this guy is a big walking thing of just, no, screw that.
All right, give me this relic, Jack.
The Gauntlet of Ascension.
Yes.
Warp Strike Claw only. Relic replaces it and has the following profile. Each time it attacks made with this weapon, select one of the following profiles. Each time an enemy character model... Each time an attack is made with this weapon, you reroll the hit roll.
Good.
Each time an enemy character model is destroyed by an attack made with this weapon until the end of the battle, add 1 to strength and attacks.
That's cool.
So,
tell me that this big fist is like an AP of 5 so that I can really justify taking away invulns.
Yeah. This is AP 3.
Dang it!
Yeah.
They got me again, folks.
Yeah. And it's 2 hit rolls instead of 1 for sweep.
It's the same as the fist.
Yeah. It's damage 8. It's times 2 minus 3 damage 8, and it rerolls hits. And the sweep profile is strength 10 minus 2 damage 3. Rerolls hits. But it's 2 hit rolls instead of 1.
And then it like gets better when it kills characters.
And if you do the sweep attack with it, you... actually, Ren doesn't work with this. It has
it's only for chain swords, yeah.
Sure. I wouldn't take this.
No, I wouldn't either.
The Twisted Mask, Psyker model only. Knows 1 additional psychic power. Does not cast 1 additional, just knows 1 additional. Add 1 to psychic tests.
That I like, because I really want to pass those spells.
I really do.
I really do.
Really do.
Yeah. I like that one.
That is the Twisted Mask. Panoply of the Cursed Knights. Abhorrent or War Dog class model only. The bearer has a save characteristic of 2+. That is Armor of Sainted Iron.
It's a solid relic.
It's solid. It doesn't go on a tyrant.
It's not exciting.
You would not take this on a War Dog. I mean,
solid.
Please don't.
Please don't.
Soul Raptor Swarm.
What a name.
Terror Shades model only. Each time a bearer would lose the wound as a result of a mortal wound. Unless that wound was inflicted by demonic surge ability, roll 1d6 on a 4+. That wound is not lost. The 4 feel no pain against mortals. And you get a dreaded ability, Soul Raptor. While an enemy unit is within dread range of the bearer, each time a model flees from that unit, the bearer regains 1 lost wound. Up to a maximum of 3 regained wounds per phase.
Yeah, if you start just getting people that... So it's a 4 up against mortals?
4 up against mortals.
4 up against mortals is like a relic you think about.
Yeah,
but like a 4 up against mortals and...
So remember, there's one dude who can just be super durable, run into the center of your opponent's army, and give out a massive aura of, you are bad at stuff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you can just slap this guy on there, and then... Dreaded is all about making stuff run away, and when they do, you don't have to roll anything. You just gain the wounds.
That's cool.
So, a couple run away, you just like, doop, 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 and you tick up the wound counter. And then they also have a 4 up against mortals, which is really nice for the first night in.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that's going to eat all
That's the one who's going to eat all
the
mortals.
swines.
And a 4 up is the point where it just really slows down the ammo.
I actually think this is super good.
That's a good relic. There's a couple good relics in here.
Yeah. You put this on it's Terror Shades only, so Abominant. I mean, not Abominant. I
think the Abhorrent.
Abhorrent.
Does anyone else have Terror Shades?
I think there is so it's the Abominant is Terror Shades, and then I think there's one War Dog that is Terror Shades as well.
Really?
Yeah. Brigand is. It's the double gun.
Oh, the Carnivore
and the Carnivore is, as well as the Stalker.
So the new kit ones.
The Helverin.
Yeah, is not.
And the
Huntsman.
The Huntsman, which is the
Warglaive. So the analog. 2 old style ones don't get Terror Shades. The 3 new Armigers are Terror Shades.
I would not give this upgrade to one of these, though.
No, it's literally just the people who are in the box set. They get it.
And a Knight Abominant with a 5-up Feel No Pain, 4-up against mortal wounds. Maybe the upgrade that means you can't really hit a wound or a damage roll, and you're transhuman to hit. And you have a bunch of aura abilities that are messing with your opponent. Heals models anytime people run away. And takes a 4-up against mortals. That sounds good.
It's never going to die.
Yeah, never going to die.
That is never going to die.
That is going to
Can
have
you
some
also
serious
make it
mortality
you
problems.
could instead make it -1 to hit and wound in combat. Bah! If you did Slaneshi instead of the no rerolls.
You can. I don't hate that. There's a lot of combinations here.
There's a lot of combos. All right. We got one more?
All right. Helm of Dogs.
Dogs.
War Dog class model only. Add 1 to the attacks, and it gains an ability. Helm of Dogs aura. While friendly War Dog class models within 6 inches of the bear each time makes an attack reroll a wound roll of 1. That's super good. There are a lot of good relics in here.
Yeah.
And you can only take 3 of them.
You can only take 3. But there are several good ones.
Super good.
All right.
You want to go over the
Secondarios?
secondaries?
All right. So chapter approved rules. We have 4 secondary objectives. I'll grab the first 2 real quick. So the first one is in Purge the Enemy. Always a good category to have a secondary in. It is a fitting challenge. If you select this objective before the battle, you identify which 3 units from your opponent's army have the highest points values and make a note of them. If 2 are tied, then the opponent gets to choose. If the opponent's army has 3 or fewer units, you can instead identify all the units in your opponent's army. Fair enough. A unit's points cost...
I mean, what would that even look like?
Yeah, a unit's points cost knights at a crusade game. I don't know. If a unit splits into several smaller units during the battle, all those separate units must be destroyed for the original unit to count as being destroyed for the purpose of this objective. So this is kill your opponent's 3 most expensive units. At the end of each battle round, you score a number of victory points for each identified unit that was destroyed during the battle by a Chaos Knight unit from your army to a maximum of 6 victory points per battle round. The number of victory points scored depends on the battle round during which each unit was destroyed, as shown in the table below. At the end of the battle, reduce the number of victory points you have earned from the secondary objective by 1 to a minimum of 0 for each of the identified units that has not been destroyed. If a unit was destroyed, it was then resurrected or otherwise returned to the battle and subsequently destroyed again. For the purpose of the secondary, it was destroyed during the battle round in which it was last removed from the battlefield. So if you kill something and it stands back up, don't kill it again. Otherwise, it'll be worth less points that way. So weird. Okay. So, battle round 1, you get 6 victory points. Battle round 2, you get 5. Battle round 3, you get 4, and you can probably guess that this continues down in the same trend. So weirdly enough, okay, there's an example. If one of the identified units was destroyed during the first battle round, another was destroyed during the 4th, and the third was destroyed during the 5th battle round, you would score 11 points. So if 1 in the first is 6, 1 in the third is
This looks
4,
like they just haven't added this up correctly.
and the 1 in the 5th is 2, so that would be 12. Okay, that would be worth, you score 11, but it literally would be worth 12. Dang it. The math in the example...
No, read the second example. Second example is super messed up.
If 2 of the identified units were destroyed during the second battle round, but 1 was not destroyed at the end of the battle, you would score 5 victory.
Yeah, I'm trying to square that circle, but it makes no sense.
All right, the example in this is just the wrong math with what they're...
If one was destroyed during the first, that's 6. Another was destroyed during the 4th, that would be 3. And one was destroyed during the 5th. That makes sense. 6, 3, 2, 11. That's fine.
Okay, that one's fine.
This one is if 2 of the units were destroyed during the second battle round, but 1 was not destroyed, you would score 5.
Sounds like...
That makes no sense.
That makes no sense. All right.
Because you should get...
All right, so the second half of this example is bad. I'm just going to choose to ignore it.
Yeah, I looked at that. You should get 9 on that.
Yeah, we're just going to choose to ignore
because
that.
it's for each identified unit that was destroyed to a maximum of 6 victory points per battle round. No, it does make sense. If you destroy 2 in the same turn, you only get 6, and then -1 for the last one. This is terrible. This is one of the worst secondaries they've ever come up with.
Holy crap.
Yeah, we thought their math was off, but no, it turns out the secondary is just that bad.
So if your opponent just runs all 3 at you and they just all die at turn 1, they're like, well...
6 points.
Enjoy your 6.
If you happen to kill 2 of them in the same phase, it's like you did in the same turn. It's like you did nothing.
If they put them in reserves, this is just terrible. Stop. This is terrible. Path of Destruction. No mercy, no respite. This is in a category that you're decent at already, but let's see if it's getting good. I think this is the one that's in the Nakamund pack. Okay. Score 1 victory point at the end of the battle round for each of the following conditions that were satisfied during the battle round for maximum of 3. Okay. Max of 3 a turn is always nice. 1 or more enemy units were destroyed by a Chaos Knight model from your army, while that Chaos Knight model was wholly in your deployment zone. One or more enemy units destroyed by Chaos Knight while that Chaos Knight model was more than 3 inches from either player's deployment zone. One or more enemy units destroyed by Chaos Knight model while they were in your opponent's. Okay, so Chaos Knight in your deployment zone, 1 3 inches from either zone, 1 in your opponent's zone. Each one that kills an enemy unit, you get a point.
I don't hate this. This is kind of like Engage on All Fronts Part 2.
Yeah, but like, if you're killing 3 units to get these points, could you just take grind?
I think you're looking at this as grind where you can just get a 2.
Yeah.
Because they can't give you a 0 on this.
But like, if you get
units.
2, are they really... I mean, I guess this is fine.
This is
fine.
I think this is probably better grind.
Yeah, but not much better grind.
I think it's probably
I like
better.
also like turn 1 just in my deployment zone, just killing one thing and being like, thanks for the 3 points.
I agree, but it's less risky, and there's no chance of getting zeroed out.
Yes.
I'm so not excited about that, though.
All right. 2 for you.
Battlefield Supremacy, so this has to be really good to displace Stranglehold.
Yep, you would hope so.
Ruthless Tyranny. If you select this objective at the end of your turn, you score victory points as followed for a maximum of 4. A turn, 2 victory points, you control half or more of the total number of objective markers on the battlefield, and 1 or more Chaos Knights models from your army are within range, so sticky objectives do not count.
Okay.
1 victory point if half or more of the total number of objective markers on the battlefield are within dread range of 1 or more Chaos Knights from your army. Score 1 victory point if every objective marker on the battlefield is within dread range. So this is way better Stranglehold.
This is a very good Stranglehold.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can... Yep.
It's the end of your turn. You... dread range, remember, is 12 to 15 inches.
Yeah.
So... if you control half or more of the objectives, which, by the way, you don't have to control more than your opponent, so...
Just getting 3.
Just getting 3.
Out of 6.
Yep.
And your opponent's on 3.
Because half or more of the total number of objective markers are within dread range. And you're controlling them.
Yep.
So this is Stranglehold, but you don't need to take objectives away from your opponent. And on Recover the Relics, this is gross.
Yep.
You get a 3 on it every turn without having to leave your side of the board.
Yeah.
And if somehow you fall behind on this,
you can get 4 a turn.
You can get 4 a turn to make up for it. And I'm pretty sure 1 knight can be within 12 inches of every single objective marker on your opponent's side of the board.
That's so true.
You're taking this all the time.
Yeah, this is a great one.
It
is in a category that you already have access to, which is a downside.
It is also already a second... Well, to be fair, it is a secondary that you're already kind of getting a 15 on anyway.
Yeah, but also you can front load it in case you get tabled. Because as soon as your Chaos Knight armies drops to 2 models, you can no longer store a Stranglehold.
Yeah.
And you can front load to get a couple more points early, and you can still score some on there.
It is super easy. Yeah. Super easy to just get 4s on this turns 1, 2, and 3 and just be a 12, and then later in the game you're just
get like 1 or 2.
I got a 3 and you table me and I got a 15. Yeah. This is very, very, very good.
That is a very good
If it wasn't fighting with Stranglehold, it's clear that they know this is fighting with Stranglehold, because if this was in No Mercy, No Respite, oh my god, Chaos Knights would be a problem.
Yeah, that would be a good secondary.
Yeah.
All right, one more for me.
Shadow Ops, Storm of Darkness. Chaos Knights units from your army can attempt the following action. Storm of Darkness action. 1 Chaos Knights unit from your army can start to perform this action at the end of the morale phase, which is after you've already done everything in your turn.
The or your?
End of the morale phase.
Okay.
You may not be able to perform actions in your opponent's turn.
Never come up before.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's continue.
If it is in range of an objective marker that has not already been cursed by your army, a unit cannot start this action while there are any enemy units in range of the same objective marker. The action is complete at the end of your next psychic phase, provided the unit performing it is still within range of the same objective marker. If completed, that objective marker is said to have been cursed by your army until the end of the battle, while a non-chaos unit is within 6 inches of the objective marker. Subtract 1 from leadership characteristics, and score 3 victory points every time you complete it. This is very weird.
So, you need to get a new one. So you just have to action an objective each turn.
In your morale phase.
But it's in your morale. It doesn't say your.
It doesn't. I'm going to just go out on a limb and say there's a restriction to doing actions in your turn.
I genuinely don't think there is. It just usually doesn't come up. But we can check on that. I mean, we've got plenty of time.
Yeah, we can check.
I still don't think it's that great either way, because your opponent... You have to hold the objective through your opponent's turn.
Well, I think that the main problem with this is it completes at the end of your next psychic phase,
so
which means you don't get to do anything.
You get to shoot. You don't get to move.
For a full turn. So you can run up the board and you can just be like, all right, I did my entire turn and now I'm going to do an action in my morale phase.
And then hope they don't shoot you or kill you.
Which, I mean, on like the super durable one is probably not going to happen. But then you have to not do anything with that guy. And if you're doing an action, your auras turn off.
Yes. But it does complete
you
before
get
your
dreaded
shooting phase.
abilities.
So you get to shoot.
You get to shoot and you get to punch. Charge
and punch. But you don't get to cast any spells.
It might be okay if you're sprinting up the board with a super durable guy and you're just like... Because you have to be in range.
Like, it is shadow operations.
And you can't start it while there's any enemy units. Never mind, I don't like this.
No, I don't like it. But it is shadow operations, which is a category that is literally inaccessible to knights.
Yeah, and it does have cute leadership shenanigans, but nah.
I mean, in the context of I already do well on a stranglehold, my opponent does not have any vehicles or a ton of characters, and I'm just like looking at grind, and I need a third one.
You don't get to move, but you do get to shoot.
I think I prefer having like a psychic action secondary.
I would like that.
But if your opponent, for whatever reason that's not an option,
you can do this. Like, honestly, having a war dog on your home field objective, just being like, I'm going to start this, but then they're going to kill it and deny it. I don't love it.
It depends on if it's the end of... honestly, if you can do it at the end of the morale phase after your opponent has shot, it is actually kind of good.
Yes.
I don't see a reason... Well, we'll have to read
there's no way we know that.
We just don't know. This has never come up before.
Yeah.
All right.
So the last rule before we get to profiles...
Harbingers
a lot.
of Dread.
Harbingers of Dread.
A lot of rules in this book.
So... there are 3 categories: Doom, Despair, Doom, and Darkness. You start in Doom. You can go from Doom to Despair. You can go from Despair back to Doom. You can go from Doom to Darkness. You can go from Darkness back to Doom. Doom is the center. You can go out to Despair. You can go back to Doom. Out to Darkness. Back to Doom.
I'm just going to show them this chart. We can.
We can?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So this is the chart. This is the middle line. Yeah, here we go. You start here. So round 1, this is the buff you'll have. Then next turn you choose one of these 3. And like if you chose one on this side, the next turn you can move over 1 spot. So you could go middle. No, this way. You do one of these 2 if you had started here. And then you could go to the middle. And then you can, on the next turn, go all the way across 1 more. You can only ever like move 1 square at a time. And you have
left or right.
Left or right. And you have to go down through the battle rounds. So 5th battle round is always going to be here. 1st battle round is always going to be here. So what it really means is that you cannot go from this one to this one. This is like backwards in 2 ways.
Every single buff is different.
Yeah, they're all different. They're
Battle
all unique.
round,
some of these are cool.
Some of these are cool. Battle round 2 Despair is different than battle round 3 Despair.
Yeah.
Like every single buff is unique. It is 10. It is 11 unique buffs in here.
Yep.
So turn 1, you're going to be in Dreadhost, which is a dreaded ability. While an enemy unit is within dread range, subtract 1 from leadership characteristics and subtract 1 from combat attrition. Weird that that's turn 1.
That's hard to get turn 1.
It is hard. Now it's nice that that's always in play to be a subsequent turn pick
for just do a prior turn.
Yes.
Yeah,
because this one is pretty good for that.
Yeah, if on turn 3 I turned on -1 leadership, -1 combat attrition in an aura from my army, it'd be like, if you're playing the wrong thing, that is really gonna hurt.
Yes. So then battle round 2.
Okay.
You take Despair while your enemy unit is within dread range. If they have aura abilities, subtract 3 inches from the range.
Yeah.
If the enemy unit has any abilities that are used in the command phase, subtract 3 inches from the range of those abilities. This would be really good if bodyguard was still a thing.
Yes. Now that it's not, it's cool.
It's fine. The Doom one is add 3 to the model's dread range. Solid. And the Darkness one is Geist Storm. While an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, each time that unit is selected to shoot with, and each time it wishes to declare a charge, it must first take a dread test. If the test is passed, it can select targets for shooting attacks or declare a charge normally. Otherwise, models in the enemy unit cannot make ranged attacks unless they target the closest eligible target or the closest eligible Chaos Knights unit. If the enemy unit declared a charge against any Chaos Knights units, any charge rolls are halved.
Ooh. If you just bury a durable knight in your opponent's face and you're like, I'm choosing this turn too, you have to shoot me.
And I'm the super durable one.
Like the one guy who you cannot reroll hits or wounds against has a 5-up feel no pain.
And is making you take dreaded tests at like -1 leadership, 3d6, pick the highest.
And it's like, no. You've got to shoot the one you can't reroll against who has a 5-up feel no pain. You're like, do I have to? And they're like, yes, half charges for asking.
That is actually... that is actually really, really, really good.
But if you take Geiststorm, you cannot switch, because that's in darkness, you cannot switch all the way over to Despair the next round.
You got to go back through Doom before
you got to go back through Doom before you get to darkness. So what is...
So Despair, which you would not get immediately after Geiststorm. Empiric Fugue, that spell round 3, while an enemy is within dread range of this model, each time the enemy unit wishes to start performing an action must pass a dread test. If it's failed, it can't do it. And at the start of the morale phase, if the enemy is currently performing an action, must take a dread test. If it's failed, the action is currently performing immediately fails.
I hate
whatever.
Yeah, I don't care about that. Geiststorm. Take
Geiststorm's
turn 2.
dope.
That's the one I'm taking.
Yeah, Mortal Terror, while an enemy unit is within dread range. This is Doom. This is the center
the middle one. You can always switch to the center because it's in the middle.
Well, an enemy unit is within dread range of this model. Each time that unit fails a morale test, one additional model flees from that unit before combat attrition tests are taken. If the result of the morale test is at least twice that of the highest leadership characteristic in the unit, then D3 additional models flee instead.
All right, you get a couple extra people run away. That's cute.
Not
a lot. Not inspiring, honestly.
Darkness, if you stay in darkness from Geiststorm, Pall of Darkness, each time a ranged attack is made against this model, if the attack is more than 12 inches away, subtract 1 from the hit.
That's good.
That's good. Like that.
That one.
Yep.
Turn 2, only shoot the close knight. Turn 3, all the far knights are -1 to hit.
Yep.
Again, darkness
And
is
I would
the one you like.
probably put a guy back into Geiststorm to just be like, no.
No. Yeah, I would put a guy back into Geiststorm if I had one of the many abilities we mentioned to do that.
Okay, well, that was... Geiststorm's pretty good, but there's a reason you want to go over to Despair. Battle round 4, while an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, it's paralyzing insanity.
What a word.
If that unit has objective secured, it loses it.
Just everything in dread range?
Loses it.
Just everything in dread range that was OBSEC is no
Remember,
longer...
all your armigers have dread, and they are all OBSEC.
all OBSEC. And all your big knights are 10 models.
Yep. Have fun with that.
No one's OBSEC near me. Wow. That's a reason to switch over.
Yep.
Oh, if you have the ability to like turn that on turn 5, because when you have the things to a pick, you don't have to pick within the track you've been chosen, just from either the same or previous battle rounds, depending on the limits of that.
Yeah.
So if you could just have one guy turn on Paralyzing Insanity while you're staying in the darkness track, that would be good.
That would be real good.
Okay.
Wailing Geists, while an enemy unit is within dread range of this model, subtract 2 from the leadership characteristic models in that unit.
Okay, so
Not
that's
terrible.
the Doom one from the center. The center has the most morale.
By the way, critically, Paralyzing Insanity does not make them take a dread test. They just lose OBSEC.
Yeah.
There is no dread test.
Nope, you just
lose it.
Yeah. The middle one, Doom, seems to be all of the morale shenanigans.
It's a cost to switching between them.
Yeah.
Veil of Shadows, each time a melee attack is made against this model, subtract 1 from that attack's hit roll. Not great.
From a melee?
Melee attack. So it's Pall of Darkness, but for melee.
I mean, I still don't mind a -1 to hit. And by turn 4, you're probably mixing it up in punches.
Yeah, I would rather be in Paralyzing Insanity, personally.
Yes, I would.
Horror of the Warp. This is turn 5. This is Doom. You must be in this one turn 5. While an enemy unit is within dread range, each time a combat attrition test is taken, subtract 1, and on a modified wound roll. On a modified roll of 1, 2 models flee instead of 1.
Okay. Yeah, turn 1 and 5 are not very inspiring. I really want to have an ability to turn on another one on turn 5.
Well, luckily, that just exists.
Luckily, that just exists. Because I would really like Paralyzing Insanity.
Yeah, turn 4 and 5, you spend the last of your knights to just take every objective on the board.
And just be like, yeah, well, I'm going to spend the last of my CP on putting this turn off OBSEC within 12 inches of every knight down.
So that is very interesting. I honestly cannot make that many predictions about how you're going to play this.
I don't know if this is good or not.
I have no idea. I'm guessing you go Dreadhost, Geiststorm, Pall of Darkness, Veil of Shadows, and then activate Paralyzing Insanity.
Yeah, I think so.
But I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, that's
super complicated. There's not a lot changed on the profile, so we can just go over the big
I think we can
ones.
speed. I think each one changed a little bit. But we can
Each one
speed through it.
changed a little bit.
Do you remember the old profiles pretty well?
Fairly. The new Helverin, the Executioner, got an additional point of AP,
That is all it changed.
which is nice. And I believe they also gained a bunch of access to like rerolls.
Yeah. Oh, they
So
did.
that's pretty good.
The Heavy Stubber went to Strength 5 base. On
So
all
we'll go
our
to
heavy-
Strength 6 with the Sniper one.
Every Heavy Stubber, just assume it went to Strength 5 instead of Strength 4. That's it.
Yep. The Stalker, which is the Chain Cannon plus a Slaughter Claw.
Which is one of the new.
Yep.
It's one of these boys.
And it is Terror Shades. Avenger Chain Cannon is Assault 12, Strength 6, AP 2, Damage 1. Not bad.
That's
You can give it a Havoc multi-launcher if you feel like it. And you can replace the chain cannon with the 2-shot meltagun that the brigand has.
The thermal spear.
Yeah,
Demon breath thermal spear.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. You can replace the Slaughter Claw with a Reaper Chain Talon.
Hot.
So you can literally make this thing a huntsman if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Carnivore. The Carnivore has a Reaper Chain Talon and a Slaughter Claw and an additional attack.
Yep.
And that is it. It's also Weapon Skill 2. That's not it. So Weapon Skill 2 and Movement 14. Sorry. There's multiple things that make this.
Yeah, because the normal Harbingers are Movement 12.
Yes, this one's Movement 14, 5 attacks, and Weapon Skill 2. So this thing will hurt.
And it's just all melee.
All melee. So it does have a sweet profile on the Chain Talon, Strength 6, AP 3, Damage 1.
Easy.
And the Smash attack is 5 attacks at Strength 10, AP 4, Damage 3. And remember, all that AP and attacks can be increased by 1 in Iconoclast.
Yeah.
So 6 attacks.
The Carnivore hits pretty good.
Pretty good. And the Slaughter Claw, which you do have access to, is Strength 12, AP 3, 4 in Iconoclast, D3 plus 3 damage.
Yeah,
That feels real good. I'm not sure why you would use the strike of a Reaper Chain Talon over Slaughter Claw.
It's +1 AP if you're just hitting like mid-sized
I
targets.
think if you're Iconoclast, you just swing with the Slaughter Claw.
Yeah, there's definitely a point. But like if I'm trying to kill intercessors,
Yeah.
just using the Reaper Chain Talon is just like hit on 2s, wound on 2s, go away.
Yeah. The Ward Dog Brigand is the double gun. It comes with the Demon Breath Spear, which is heavy 2, 30-inch range, strength 9, AP 4, D6, half range, D6 plus 2 damage, and a chain cannon. Solid.
Solid. Still basic skill 3. Going double combat helps your combat get better by getting +1 attack and weapon skill. Going double gun doesn't help at all.
Yeah, but it gets you an extra gun.
Did we cover the what the stats were on the Havoc multi-launcher?
No, the Havoc multi-launcher is D6 shots, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage, blast, and can target units that are not visible.
48-inch range. AP is 0 damage 1. Makes me feel like this was written before the last balance patch was finalized. Because an AP dash and direct weapon that just gives +1 to save out is just never going to be that good.
I'll be honest, 5 points just to use as a direct fire weapon is not terrible.
That's still not bad. But like it's
clear, yeah.
But like compared to a heavy stubber, it's the same thing but D6 instead of heavy 4.
Oh yeah, you take the heavy stubber because the heavy stubber's free. Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, it's 5 points. Like it's not bad. If I had 5 points floating, I would sure.
This is good in the reroll a hit and a wound because you fire the melta-gun first, and then whichever one of those you did not use on the chain cannon.
Yep.
That's pretty decent. The Huntsman has the Demon Breath Spear and a Chain Talon.
It's a Warglaive.
It's a Warglaive. You know exactly.
Warglaives do move 12 now instead of 14.
Yep.
They got a little slower.
Got a little slower.
A little disappointed in that, but yeah,
all right. The Despoiler gets double.
The Despoiler
gets a Demon Breath Melta-Gun.
The Despoiler is like the custom knight. It's like the standard box
which is actually
set.
that's just one Melta-Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the double melee.
I think it can replace its.
Oh yeah.
This is the one that can just take anything.
It starts with double melee.
Yep.
You can upgrade either gun to either thing. So you can take double Despoiler Gatling Cannon if you feel like.
Yep.
You can still do double Gatling.
Yep.
But
let's look at the points.
There's a little bit of a problem with that. If you take 2 of the same thing, then unit cost is increased by 20 points.
Yep.
Which is just not the way when they are this expensive.
Yeah, so the Knights didn't get much cheaper.
No. In fact, the
much.
Despoiler for the double Gatling may have gotten significantly more expensive.
Yeah, because it's 60 points for the double Gatling. So it's 120 for the double Gatling.
Plus
20 if you take double of anything, so that'll be 140 extra points on a 375 base?
Yeah,
375 base. So that would take it to 515.
Over 500.
A little bit much.
So this has medium knights have an aura ability. This one is war dogs within 9 inches can heroically intervene.
9 inches.
Fine.
You can get
I would not take this. It is too expensive, in my opinion.
I mean, if you want the Melta-Gun and a chainsword, it's cool, but like I don't know if I want that, honestly.
So the Desecrator
Desecrator's cool.
comes with the gigantic turbo laser.
Yeah.
Which is great. Heavy 2, strength 14, AP 5, damage D3 plus 6.
I like that big turbo laser.
72-inch range. Pretty good. Really good on the reroll, a hit and a wound. And then its aura's 9-inch range, 9-inch aura of real hits. Real hit rolls of 1 in shooting for war dogs.
Okay, so it gives all the war dogs. It's a captain for war dogs and a 9-inch aura. That's like solid. If you're going war dog heavy, I don't mind that at all.
Especially since war dogs were like okay, and now
And
get rerolls.
remember that War Dogs had that relic, which was a 6-inch or reroll 1s to wound.
Yeah, so you can easily make all your War Dogs roll 1s to hit, 1s to wound, and a hit and a wound.
And at that point, like, a shooty War Dog list does start to churn out a lot of bullets.
Yeah. Yeah, that could actually hit real hard.
That could hit real hard.
I could see a list that just takes a Desecrator, gives it every defensive upgrade, makes it so you have to charge, makes sure you have to just shoot it.
Yep.
And then all the War Dogs that are 9 inches behind it just shred you with shooting.
Yeah, that's cool.
I could also see a list where this guy hangs back, a Rampager runs forward, does that to your opponent, while all the War Dogs...
Rampager is what I like. That's the
all
one
the
I
War
like.
Dogs just absolutely go off on your opponent. So that seems real good.
And we haven't mentioned it, but the Big Knights move 10 inches.
The Rampager moves 12.
The Rampager moves 12, but like all the other Big Knights went down 2 inches in movement.
So the Rampager is a 9-inch aura of reroll 1s to hit in combat for Armigers, for War Dogs.
You could think of it as a Gallant. It is double melee and will stay that way.
Yep, hits on 2s, 5 attacks, and it has big smacky weapons.
Big smacky weapons. It's still, the other stats are what you'd expect. There's no -1 damage that we're not mentioning here. It's just T8, the same wounds as before, same save as before, which is... All these Big Knights are T8, 24 wounds.
I really like one knight getting every defensive buff, running forward and saying, you must shoot me.
Yes.
That seems really strong, because then all your shooting moves out into the open, and they can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Or if like 1 or 2 slip through the Dread Test net, like they can't coordinate firepower to kill things.
It's not the same amount.
Yeah. The Knight Abominant, which can cast psychic powers, so you know I like it. It comes with it's 3 attack space. If you're Khorne, it goes to 4, and it goes to weapon skill 2, which is better.
Yep.
It comes with a Volkite Combustor, which is 6 shots, 30-inch range, strength 10, AP 1, damage 3, and wound rolls of 6 do 3 mortal wounds.
Strength 10, AP 1?
Yes.
Tell me they wrote this after Armor Contempt with a straight face.
Yeah, that definitely didn't happen.
That didn't happen. Dang it!
I think you're fine into Armor of Contempt.
You probably will be, and for other reasons, but like I just want this to be AP2.
Yeah, this is bad. This model is bad into Armor of Contempt, but also Space Marines. If I'm taking this guy, he's getting the 5-up feel no pain. He's getting you cannot reroll hits against me and transhuman to hit,
And then he's a combat unit.
and then he's a combat unit,
Sip.
and you can only kill Space Marines with it. But Space Marines don't kill you, and you're super okay with that if they have to shoot him and not all of the Armigers that are behind it going pew 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 pew.
Yeah. I do like the Psyker Knight.
Yeah, the
His
Psyker Knight
combat is also interesting because he's 3
Combat
attacks.
is actually alright. It makes D3 extra attacks with strength 8, AP 2, damage 2. And it makes 3 hit rolls for every attack with Electro Scourge, which is strength 8, damage, AP 2, damage 3.
Damage 3 is a nice place to be.
It is. AP 2 is not in the current meta.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, if this is just covering for all the nasty wasties behind it, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And this is the most durable one if you stack buffs.
Yeah, absolutely. This, just because it's a Psyker, you don't have to spend an upgrade on it. Which means you can
It's also-
spend an upgrade on a defensive buff and then be a Psyker.
It's also Terror Shades, so 1 CP starts to do a lot of mortal wounds.
also true, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Terror Shades.
Knight Tyrant.
The last data sheet.
Stayed fairly similar. I believe the plasma went from damage 2 to damage 1 to damage 2 and damage 2 to damage 3 on each of its profiles. Other than that, stayed about the same. Basically got Call's Wrath, but baked in, which is nice. And then it has, the same quad meltaguns and a Brimstone Volcano Lance. So Volcano Lance did change. It is D3 shots.
It's D3?
D3.
Oh man, it used
Blast.
to be D6, right?
Yes. But the profile went from 3d3 damage to strength 16 AP 5, d6 plus 8. Now, it doesn't ignore invulns, so Railgun will still carve through invulns and this will not, which means this will still bounce off a lot of things. D6 plus 8 is the highest damage profile I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, don't fail that. 5-up invuln.
Do not.
So oddly enough, I don't think that they put the stats for the Valiant alternative, like the Flamer and the Harpoon, in the Knight Tyrant datasheet, but they did in the back of the book. So, like, for some reason, the Tyrant has the
Dark Flame Cannon and a Warp Shock Harpoon.
Or is it in there?
It's here.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, it's right here. You can give it a Warp Flame Cannon, a Dark Flame Cannon, and a Warp Shock Harpoon, which we do have to go back here to find out what they do. Warp Shock Harpoon, you're going to be very happy, John, is 18-inch range, heavy 1, strength 16, minus 6, damage 10. Each time it attacks me with this weapon against a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the hit roll, and each time an attack made with this weapon is allocated to a model. That model's unit suffers 3 mortal wounds in addition to any normal damage.
So if you successfully roll a wound, it's allocated. No saves 3 mortals.
3 mortals.
But you do get a normal invuln, but that won't save you from 3 mortals.
And the Dark Flame Cannon is 18-inch, 3d6, strength 7, AP 2, damage 2. Attack automatically hits. 18-inch range.
Okay, so a little bit of a small buff skis on some of these weapons.
Yeah, I don't love...
The Tyrant did get a 2-up save built in.
What's a twin Desecrator cannon that the Night Tyrant can get?
I think that's the Siege
Oh,
Breaker.
that's the Siege Breaker.
Which doesn't look like it changed at all.
No. The sad part is that the Valiant alternative is about the same cost as the Castellan alternative. And that just, it's 10 points cheaper. And, buddy,
that ain't right.
That ain't right. The Castellan is more deadly up close, just because its guns are more deadly, period.
Yep.
Like, at 18 inches, the Valiant should hit harder, fluff-wise, but doesn't. The Castellan just hits harder at all ranges.
Yeah, like D6 plus 8 is close enough to damage 10 that I don't really care. 3 extra mortals does not make up for D3 shots instead of 1.
Yes. And then the other gun is just better.
Yeah, the plasma's better than Flamer. It's
27 AP 2 damage 2 is whatever.
Yeah, it's this auto hitting is nice, but the strength and the AP and the damage buff is just significant.
That's the book.
That's the book. Snap. This is the first time we read this, we didn't know what to make of it. We're like, there's a lot of
better sense of it now.
There's a lot of cool rules in here.
Yeah, the have to shoot the closest on one guy that's stacking so many defensive buffs it's going to make your opponent's head spin.
Yeah,
does actually feel real strong.
Yeah, you can make some really interesting combos. I love the warp pacts, like the different god dedications you can get.
Yep,
stacked
those are
with
all,
like
half
relics
of those are
and
really
warlord
good.
raids. Half of them are good,
and the other half are like decent.
Yeah, like there's enough to take that you can take you can fill a good list with them.
And then the
relics
Harbinger abilities, plus the ability to activate double Harbinger abilities, previous battle round Harbinger abilities. That's interesting. Very complicated. You can tell that we spent almost no time on the profiles, and this is still a very long video. It's like 3 hours
there is
long.
a ton of stuff in here. But there's a lot to go over, really. So we haven't played any games with this yet.
I'm very excited to start.
I am very excited to start getting this on the table. I really like this army from just an aesthetic purpose. This is probably my favorite. Just the models that they put out, probably my favorite Chaos models that they've ever made.
Well, that's not a high bar for you.
It's not a high bar for me. I'm normally not a Chaos player, but I like the Chaos Knight models that they put out a lot. And the rules are very interesting, and they're very fun looking, and they look very fluffy looking. And I want to go in there and scream, "I'm a Harbinger of Doom!"
Yeah.
And make 10 Howling Banshees run away in fear. That's what I want to do.
So I think the book is good,
I think it is good.
but it's broken the streak. Of
Yeah,
codexes,
this does not feel like a 2022 Codex,
which is great.
which is awesome.
like,
We've had too
don't
many.
get us wrong. I'm not disappointed by that at all.
No.
This feels good. This does not feel like it's going to break the metagame over its knee like every book has come out with so far.
I think if you like Chaos Knights and you've been waiting for this book because you like Chaos Knights, I think this is really cool. There's good models. This box set is worth it. It's the first chance to get these models. Comes with a new book. The book is dope. I love the lore section. It's also a beautiful book. I like limited edition books. It makes me feel special.
Limited edition book is nice.
They
Got
do
the
look
Black
really
Templar
pretty.
one.
I know, they look good.
Yeah.
If you had no interest in Chaos Knights and you're like, well, if they're broken, I'll buy them. I don't think you need to.
No.
I don't think they're broken. I don't think
they do not seem broken at all.
No.
They do seem like they are an army that can do well, not will do well.
Yes. I would agree with that. There are a lot of cool combos in here. Some of those defensive tricks we mentioned, those are really dope. That doesn't just win a tournament effortlessly by itself. You don't just be like, oh yeah, you can't reroll hits and wins against my knights. Guess I could never lose another game of 40.
One night.
Singular.
If it was all the knights, then fine, but it's one.
If it was all the knights.
And you have to get in range. Remember, that ability is turn 2. So you have to get in range to get that ability.
Yeah.
You have to shoot me.
Yep.
Or you have to spend to activate it, and even then they still have to fail morale. Like, it's
and
not broken.
they can also move out of range of it, right?
It might be.
I thought it was in the beginning of the shooting phase. Maybe I'm wrong.
Each time the unit is selected to shoot with. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can just back up and then shoot.
Yeah. So
Not broken. Coming
Not
from
broken.
reserves,
not broken.
No.
Good. They nailed the
Good.
power level for my
Yes,
expansion.
this is we haven't played any games yet. It could be a little stronger or a little weaker than we think.
Probably is one of those
It's
two
one of the
things.
two, I'm sure.
Especially
Immediately,
it's complicated as hell.
it is complicated and it's weird. This is a very different frame of rules than we've had. It's not like a Space Marine Codex time where this time your intercessor's +1 AP in combat. And it's like, yeah, okay, I know what an intercessor does. I know what +1 AP does.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You could take 3 armies that don't have any of the same upgrades.
Yeah.
And
You could
those
take
armies
different-
will play substantially differently.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those will need to be tested to see whether they're good or not.
Yeah. I do have this sneaky fear that the shooting chaos armies, knight armies, are going to be a little weak into Armor of Contempt, where the
Yes.
melee ones I think will be able to still hold through.
I would kind of tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
The shooting ones can really put out shots, though.
Yeah, they can. And I also do kind of want to wait and see, like, how much all of this morale thing adds up. Because, like, it's cool. I like morale check abilities. Every once in a while, you're like, yeah, this just doesn't do anything.
It might have hit the critical mass to where morale actually starts to really hurt.
It might have. But I'm
we'll
not
see.
confident in that.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, an entire knight army that is reroll 1s and reroll 1 on hits and wounds and pumps out a lot of shots.
Yeah, you can make some Moraxes really go off.
Moraxes have War Dog?
Yes. The Moraxes already have the right keywords, no FAQ required. The big Forge World Knights look like they need an FAQ to line the keywords up. I don't know if they'll get one. I don't know if that's the intent, is to make a Megara and Abhorrent class. If that happens, the Chaos Knights I think will still be viable. But the regular Knights have gotten buffed up enough that they're good. So I think that you can go with like the Rampager. I really like the Gallant equivalent, the weapon skill 2, 5 attacks. There's a couple different ways to stack attacks. You can make that guy murdering.
Yeah, you can
combat.
make that guy slap.
And then he goes, oh man. I
And you
love that
can,
so
I mean,
much.
what you can do is you can take a guy
Mm-hmm.
who is almost impossible to kill and then
Yep.
ram them down your opponent's throat.
You really can.
I still don't think it's broken.
I don't think it is.
Nope.
don't.
Seems fine.
Yeah, and like Knights, there's always counterplay. I don't think that this army's damage output has raised tremendously.
No, their profiles have not gotten better.
Their profiles have gotten a little better
A
in
little
some places.
better.
Like the thermal, the
The Helverins are actually
the Helverins are decent.
So 7 AP2 is much better than AP3.
Yeah.
And I mean, name AP1. And at 18 inches, you could make it AP3
If you're
the
if you're the
thing, but you
custom
probably
thing.
still take real ones to hit, a hit and a wound. Because if you have like 3 Helverins with reroll, now
Hit
what
and
you
wound.
could do is you could take a Dreadblade detachment of those with +1 to hit vehicles and whatnot. And
Mm-hmm.
can you take a relic in that?
I would have to check.
You take a
Yes.
relic. You
Right.
take a relic for.
You
the,
might need a Chaos Knight Warlord to get Chaos Knight relics.
You get the real. Well, either way, you can take a bunch of Helverins that reroll 1s to hit and wound, and reroll a hit and a wound, or a +1 to hit against a lot of things.
3 Helverins +1 hit against vehicles is just. It's just a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots downrange, and it's
Yeah.
going to start to add up quick. So I think they nailed the power level. I think they nailed the fluff, and we're just going to have to see what people can figure out.
Yeah. I'm really excited to get on stream. Hopefully, we'll have that coming up for you relatively soon, both on YouTube and in the War Room.
All right.
So, thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. In case you haven't noticed, there's a Rift War and Imperial Knight video today as well. So, tune into that. Hope you enjoyed it. And make sure you click that like, subscribe, and share button. And check out our website, theartofwar40k.com, where we have a lot more awesome content in the War Room. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We'll send you out with a commercial for the very same War Room. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There's so many rules in 40k, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.